My prayer closet is full of dead bones and skeletons, ill wills, broken promises. Hatred is my medicine, my flesh, dirty voices in my head, talking 730 foul visions, keep my conscious prison. I'm the adversary, man, it ain't all good. Push me too far, cause it's your hood. Crack like ball bats, smacking balls all wood. But I'm a worshiper, I spit the truth to murderers. I focus on eternal love, yet I fit the bloody glove, the broken arrow, trying to walk a path, crazy narrow, trying to see the Christ. All I see right now, hazy shadows, plus my kicks, muddy from the detours of my flesh, man. Thought I was the best, man. Kid, I'm just a fresh man. Stay locked on this narrow path. Ain't no bus stop, street cops, weed spots, vendors selling freeze pots. It's the path of the fire, the walk of the flame, the walk in the vein. My cleave marks in victory lane. Come on. This is the road that we walk. This is the thing that we spark. This is the shot in the dark. This is narrow. This is the foreigner's land. This is the covenant plan. This is the blood on my hand. This is narrow. This is my final cry. Read your word is a lie. This is the live it or die. This is narrow. This is the path of the scar. This is the pull in your car. This is the breath of the raw. This is narrow. Kid, I'm walking, checking cracks for eternal destiny. This armorer got sweat at me. Stormy weather be wetting me. My map is spiritual. My diet, prophet, prayer, and hymnals. I talk to God continual without hearing the decibel. I'm lost, kid. Can't poly now with the rest of you. God, I'm stressing you, cause I'm a leader. I'm impressionable. And every step I take, streets is watching for the self-destruction, game reduction. Every life I'm touching, someone's teeth a sucking like I care. I was in the grabbing hand, lapping beer. Christ called me here, so I serve him like a concierge with all the strength in my frame.
Yo, what's good? What's good? What's good? What is good, everybody? How are y'all doing tonight? How are y'all doing this very, very fine evening? Oh, it's your boy, and yeah, I thought about it. I ain't plan on doing a part 2, but I saw some things and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should do a part 2. I wanted to kind of follow up from what I talked about last week about the lies that we have. Just the pure unmitigated lies that come through our ear gates and all the things that we've had to deal with. And one of the things that I saw, because I saw Minister Teo, and shout out Teo Ministries. He had talked about Rosa Parks and how he didn't know that, and of course, somebody who was a part of some of the subject matter I'm going to be bringing up tonight. It came in and like, oh, this is a lie. Oh, he was black. He was just white passing. And and then this is how I knew the brainwashing was there. This person wrapped it up with, oh, I have a degree in black. I went to, some black, whatever they call it, black collar history studies or whatever. And you need to do more research and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, bro, you're brainwashed. You're literally brainwashed. Like, it's just crazy to me how folks will go to great lengths to defend their delusion. So I did a little bit extra digging on Miss Rosa, and I decided to touch on again the educational aspect of things. I didn't go into the if I went into crazy detail, we'd be here all night. In all honesty, there's a video on even though he kind of lost his mind talking about questioning the deity of the Messiah with our man Truth Unedited, he had a video about greed. And I do recommend watching that video about the American greed, because it talks about how they change. He goes into why a lot of stuff in college changed and why a lot of stuff, became what it became. And he goes in and shows you how basically they had the dude from Wall Street come in and talking to a group of graduates talking about greed is good. Trying to talk about how that fills in the capitalist system. And I'm like, bro, y'all literally think that you're going into these places and you're being educated like that. This is the crazy part for me. It really was something else that, it's not something else. What it is people have made their soul the monument and the cornerstone of their soul, this education. That's what their whole identity comes from going to school and, oh, I'm educated. Oh, I took this class on this, so I know. You don't know anything. I would say this all the time. My man Corey Red, as a matter of fact, I think I played him in one of my intros, a song. He's like, if I'm the government and want to maintain a sense of control, I'm only giving degrees in what I want you to know. And then even in the things that you're told, do you think that you get the full story? Do you think that you know everything? Do you think that they tell you all the facts? There was somebody I know, and they had went to law school, and they were like, I don't, I just realized we didn't read the Constitution. They taught them interpretations of the Constitution. Just like when you go to Bible school, you don't learn the Bible, you're learning interpretations of the Bible, the Christian interpretation. That's why they got you reading all these dudes, you read Calvin and all this stuff. These jokers even running around calling themselves after Calvin's name. Like, what in the world are you going to call yourself after the name of a man? That junk always baffled me. That, all the dudes I know that went to seminary school come out and they're like, oh, we're Calvinists. And I'm like, well, I follow Christ. So I don't know about this Calvin dude. At the time, I didn't do too much research into Calvin, but later on, as I started to research this dude, I'm like, how in the world are y'all following this man that's full of just so much bitterness and wickedness? Like, I don't know if you've ever read any of Calvin's work, but my goodness, what talk about arrogance? In every work of his that I read on the Jews and their lies. It's a book that he wrote, and that one's just full of just vitriol. And then the other book that I had talked about in my book about the soul, Panacea, he's again just going in being crazy. And I'm like, this is the dude that y'all pattern yourself after? These are the type of men that you read after? I mean, if you read my book, I kind of went into a little bit. I just went into Calvin and his OG church father dude that he looked up to, and the horrible doctrine that they push. Like, this dude literally, Mr. Antonius of Hippo, the Hippo man, he was like, he wanted to take pagan worship from pagans. And then you niggas go to colleges and you think that you're educated. Like, bro, you are taught just enough to do the job of a slave. And I'm going to show you that. And I got medicine in a white bottle. I'm not going to be here long tonight. I went extra long last time. I did not intend on going that long. So I ain't going to hold y'all this long. I don't be trying to go that long, but I was kind of cooking last week. I didn't realize the time. I did not realize the time at all. But what I am going to do tonight is we are going to, let me go ahead and share this here window of mine. Make sure I got audio on. Let me share this. I'm going to put myself over here in the corner. And I'm going to talk about some things real quick. And then I'm going to touch on the educational thing. And I'm probably going to go a little deeper into it some more. I'm going to see more about the educational system because I come against it a lot. And a lot of jokers always want to push back. That's, always just swear by and got their identity in it. And it's like, if you don't see that it's just a cesspool of Masonic rituals and sexual deviancy, sexual deviant. Actually, it ain't even sexual deviant. It's sex worship. These universities are temples to these gods, man. Like, and it's that's why you go there and you pledge to these Roman gods, and then all this nasty debauchery goes down on there. Like, you really think you're being educated? But we're gonna touch on that. But first, I'm gonna deal with this little Rosa situation to kind of show y'all a little something, something that your boy just don't be yapping and stuff. So I'm starting off here with this movie called Memoirs of a Geisha. I don't know if any of y'all saw this before. I saw this years ago. I thought it was a dope movie. I thought it was pretty cool. And I remember when Memoirs of a Geisha came out, I went online. This is years ago, man. This is like back when they didn't have social media, so you would go on forums. And even back then on the forums, when the internet wasn't as mainstream as it was now, there were tons and tons of Chinese and Japanese people that were ticked. They were upset at this movie. They did not like it. And there's a reason why they didn't like it. So Memoirs of a Geisha, I'll just give you a quick little rundown. It's a story. It follows Chiyo Sakamoto, a 9-year-old girl from a poor fishing village who's said to be a genius, who's said to be sold into a geisha house, in Gion, Kyoto in 1929. Through the years of rigorous training and personal sacrifice, she rises to become one of the most celebrated geishas of her time, navigating rivalry, love, and the upheaval of World War II. So, geishas were like super school. They weren't just prostitutes back then. They actually they were like companion girls and stuff. And, some of the lower end ones were the ones that would usually be more prostitute, but usually the head geisha chick, the one that was pure, they would always sell her off to like some rich dude who wanted to have her first time. And that's where it was talking about a lot in this movie, talked about a lot of other stuff that she went through. It was a dope movie, but it was controversial. And you will ask yourself, why is it controversial? I mean, this is the young lady that played that played the geisha, but I don't know if y'all can hold on. I got the screen. Is it a little small? Y'all should be able to still see. I think I can still see pretty good on there. Let me bring up her article real quick here, and just so I want to show y'all to preface this. Y'all now remember I said Kyoto in Japan. Let me zoom this in a little bit. Zhang Ji, she's Chinese. So Memoirs of a Geisha. Geisha are Japanese. That's a Japanese cultural thing. But they had three Chinese girls actually that were in this movie. There were three of them, if I'm not mistaken. It was there were three girls that were in there that were Chinese, and they were upset. The Japanese people hated it. They were just, it ticked them off to no degree. And the reason why they were upset was because of this. Geisha film incenses Japanese. The Hollywood blockbuster Memoirs of a Geisha has been heavily criticized in China and Japan even before it opens. The criticism in Japan centers on director Rob Marshall's casting of Chinese actors as geisha. We should boycott this film and send a clear message to Hollywood. Why on earth have they made a film making fun of the Japanese when they cannot get by without us? Says one blogger. Critics point to trailers that show the demure geisha of 1930s Kyoto dancing on stage as if they were in a Los Angeles strip show. The film, based on the book by Arthur Golden, tells the story of Sayori Nita, played by Zhang Ziyi, the daughter of a fisherman who is sold to a geisha tea house and rises to the top of her profession. The two other lead female roles were given to the Chinese actor Gong Li and the ethnic Chinese Malaysian actor Michelle Yeoh. The Japanese actor Ken Watanabe plays Sayori's love interest. But Japanese criticism was restrained when compared with the abuse hurled by Zhang by her compatriots, angered by her involvement in the film about China's former colonial ruler. She sold her soul and betrayed her country, a Chinese blogger wrote. Hacking her to death would not be good enough. Yesterday, Zhang in Tokyo attended a preview and told a news conference that Memoirs was a step forward for Asian actors. We can do so much more than people think, she said. Now, y'all see, now to us, to me as an American who really at that time, was nowhere near as cultured as I am now, I ain't see no difference. I'm just going to keep it at 1,000. I didn't see the big deal. But as I came to understand the relationship that China and Japan has, especially because Japan invaded Nanking and did some horrible, horrible stuff. Like Japan did some grimy stuff back in the day. Like people just be giving Japan a pass because of anime and all the wackiness and all the little technology that come out of there. But Japan, they grimy. The Japanese are grimy. And they still, I think it took them years to even admit that they did any wrong, let alone giving a public apology for what they did. So Japan and China always been at odds because of that, because of the World War II actions that they did when they were invading China and did them just all kinds of just crazy stuff. There's actually a really, really, really good movie that it came out. That's how I learned about this movie. This whole thing. It was a movie called The Raping of Nanking. And it was talking about the basically what the Chinese went through during that occupation. And it was bad. I mean, it was bad, man. They were tearing babies out of pregnant women's stomachs. Basically, they got treated like black folks during the slavery. The kids got abused. They was doing around just killing folks for fun. They did all kinds of stuff. And then by them turning around and putting a Chinese person in their culture, they were offended. They got mad. They got upset, and even the Japanese got upset because the Japanese are like, bro, why are you putting a Chinese in our stuff? And then the Chinese are like, yo, why would you want to play as a people that oppressed us? So they had enough self-preservation and cultural preservation in Japan to say, hey, this is a person isn't a part of our culture. Don't pass it off to them. And the Chinese had enough wherewithal to say, bro, like you sold your soul to betray your country. Like they didn't play about that kind of stuff. They don't play, and I don't even know if the chick had more, acting gigs out in China after that. Like, when China kind of come against you, they kind of be against you. You know, the Asians do the internet, you know, thing and the whole group mind thing a lot different than it is here. It's getting like that now here in America. It didn't used to be that way, but now it's definitely like that here. You got hive minds, and I'm talking about the hive mind right now that's in Hebrews. I bring this up because it's like, why is it that you see other cultures demand that their culture be portrayed properly? You see other cultures that demand better of their own people. They demanded better. That Chinese man was mad at this woman for playing a role of the oppressor. Why don't we have that? Where is that with us? Why is it that we just got to be so accepting? And if anybody got a little bit of a tan and what looks, they don't even got to have kink in their hair. If they got a little bit of a tan, we just ready to say, oh, no matter how ubiquitous they are, no matter how weird they are, no matter how ridiculous they are, no matter what comes out about them, we would like. I'll give you a case in point. R. Kelly. I was a fan of R. Kelly back in the day, like coming up through high school and stuff. I was a fan of R. Kelly. I mean, look, dude, the man he's a hit maker. Nobody can't deny. Even now, even though I think he's a scumbag, I can't deny that the man make hits. He was a hit maker. You know what I'm saying? His pen game was ridiculous. And when I first heard about this stuff, this is like in the early 2000s when it first came out about him and that little girl, I didn't believe it. I'm like, okay, yeah, because I had already heard that he had a sex tape out there. So I was like, oh, that's just some other chick or whatever. That wasn't it. So, me, I'm like, I'm not going to believe nothing. So I went online and I started looking for information to see where they got this from and where they found it or whatever. And I have no idea to this day. I still think back, like, because the internet was way different back then. You could find anything, especially me. Man, look, I could find anything back on the internet. Internet was crazy. I remember downloading music, not even from Kazaa and BearShare. I'm taking you back. For those that know, you know about Kazaa and BearShare. When they took down and Morpheus, when they took out Napster, that was your alternatives. So I was on Kazaa and BearShare. I would get music and all kinds of programs, all kinds of stuff, man. Anything I wanted, I could find. And I didn't get it off of. Did I get it off of there? I can't remember where I found it, but I found a video with somebody saying that, hey, this is what he got in trouble for. And man, I had to hurry up and delete that thing off my computer. I was so disgusted by what I found because I found the OG video and I saw what he did. And I'm like, bro, this dude is disgusting. This is like, it was so bad. I deleted it immediately. Because I'm like, bro, the FBI ain't finna come get me for CP. They not finna come and talk about I got CP on my computer when it's this Negro. I was disgusted. And from that point on, I was through with that dude. I'm like, nah, bro, this ain't it. That ain't it. I didn't listen to him. I didn't rock with him. I didn't. If people would listen to the music, oh yeah, and I would tell them, like, nah, I ain't with it. Like, I was literally in that Boondocks episode man, Aaron Magruder, I'm telling you, the dude is borderline prophetic. When Aaron Magruder made that episode of Boondocks where they had the R. Kelly episode, I was Huey in that episode. I legit watched that episode and I'm like, I be with Huey so much because everybody was all like just wilding out and just all concerned about music. And I'm like, bro, this man is a grown behind man. And he had a little girl. She probably couldn't have been no more than, if she was 10, she was 10. It was a child, bro. Like, she was little. And this man is it was gross. And I'm like, how can y'all be okay with this? And like, what? Like, where is it that we hold our people responsible for stuff? But just because they got like a little, we like them because they act, we like them because they funny in comedy, or they make movies, or they make music, we just excuse all the foolishness. Or if they're told to be a civil rights leader or some leader, we just excuse the foolishness. Like, niggas was letting Al Sharpton get away with all kinds of foolishness and nonsense, and nobody said nothing to this slickster. Like, all these dudes be getting out here and be on this nonsense because the brainwashing from this mess. So we get on to Miss Rosa Parks. And I was like, actually, I'm not even gonna go there. I'm gonna come over here. I found her family tree. I found her family tree. And when you start looking in her family tree, you got these two folks here, James McCulkey and Edward Leona. Okay, cool. But who are they? So when I go in and I looked up her lineage, This is Rosa Parks had Cherokee Creek ancestry through her paternal grandfather, Anderson Macaulay, whose mother, Jihoji, was a full-blooded Purart Creek Indian. Her father, James Macaulay, was one of Cherokee and Scots-Irish descent, and her mother, Leona Cauley, was of African, white, and Native American heritage. Now, if you add all that together, she's literally only like 1/3, 1/5 of Hebrew. Because if you look in her family tree, I looked on her mother's side, and on her mother's side, you do see that there's this lady there. Let me close this out, called Rosina Rosie Percival, and she is definitely Hebrew. But you know, this man that she had the baby with, Sylvester, was not. He's not Hebrew. He's clearly, you know, Anglo in his origin. And then this is Rosa Parks' mama right here. Because you see, that's her right there, Rosalie Macaulay. And then there go her brother, Sylvester James Macaulay, who, again, I know folks gonna be like, oh, you go by color, oh, you read yourself, and blah, 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 blah. My dude, my dude, both my parents was definitely black. My mama had the African gap and everything, and my dad dark skin. So there's no questioning in none of that kind of stuff. They both came from Hebrew stock. My grandfather and grandmother on both sides is like that. So we don't claim no, you know, black folks always love to try to claim Indian and, oh, we Indian, oh, Indian is the same. Oh, what are you saying, red Indian? Oh, Indian is us. Are they? Are they? Are they? Oldest cousin of Native Americans found in Russia. So is you niggas Russian now? Is you niggas Russian now? So Dos Vredanya? That's what we own? Is that what we own? Is this what y'all on? All these ignorant Negroes, oh, we Indian, blah, 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 blah. Bro, y'all niggas are the most ignorant folks ever. They just, again, I brought up the Chinese and the Japanese because it's like they have pride in their culture. We may not know all our culture that went back, but we did build a little something over here, tainted as though it may be. But even within that, why is it that we always got the door open? Why is it that we are always just so willing to accept anybody or anything other than who we are as Africans? You out here accepting Russians. A new study has revealed the oldest link yet between Native Americans and their ancestors in East Asia. A 14,000-year-old tooth belonging to a close cousin of today's Native Americans found thousands of kilometers from the landmass that once connected Eurasia and the Americas. See, for those who don't know, up there in Alaska, right? If you were around during the Sarah Palin time, and when Sarah Palin was governor of Alaska, and she talked about her foreign policy, and she's like, "Oh, Russia's right across the water. I can look out my window and see Russia." That was her answer for foreign policy. Yeah, Sarah Palin was a special kind of slow, and she was a special kind of slow. Before AOC, Angelina, what were they? Andrea Ocasio-Cortez, you had Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin was slow, and there was a land bridge from Alaska to Russia. So during that time, that's where a lot of the what we call Indians, or really Native Americans, that's where they came from. They walked across that land bridge that was there, and they came down and migrated through Canada and came down further down into Florida. There's some that came down to Florida, but they came down into the States, and that's where they all started to come from. Now, some might say, oh, well, right, this is 14,000 years old, and oh, well, you know, slaves mixing. Yeah, we know there was some mixing of the slaves. The Seminoles that everybody loved to talk about, they came out and they joined in with the Seminoles, but you got to remember, there was other native tribes that teamed up with the colonizers. So the Seminoles got kicked, because they were a little darker. They got kicked out along with the black slaves, and then they went down into Mexico, and that's why now in Mexico, you see these Afro-Mexican communities, and those are the remainder. A lot of those are the remainders of that. Now you have a few other ones that are around, and you have some folks that be like, oh, we Cherokee, we this and we that, we this. Okay, you have some of that mixed in, but you still came from Hebrews that mixed in with women of these other tribes. That's where that came from. It wasn't that you was just naturally this way and that's your people. It was a mixing, because it came out, because them Seminoles that came, them free slaves that came, well, rather the ones who fought that slave rebellion in Florida, they was so gangster. They said, all right, y'all just leave Florida. We don't care. But then they tried to be slick and tried to set them up with the Indians. So that's why they teamed up with the other Seminoles. They got into their fight, and then they went down into Mexico. Again, you can look all this stuff up. You don't have to go on TikTok and all these other places that's telling you all these stupid lies. Because I seen a chick on TikTok try to say that America is the same, it's the land of the Bible, and took a picture of Florida and flipped it around and tried to make it look like Florida was Egypt. This is the type of intellectual nonsense that you're dealing with. Like, I found that most people that come against facts and truth are the most brainwashed and the most just unintelligent. They can't put together logical things. They don't know how to logically process data. They basically just have this thought process and go with it. It's kind of like how you have these dudes that's out here trying to bring Native Americans along, and Mexicans in as Judah. And I'm like, bro, what? Nah, that don't fit that don't fit nothing scripturally, and then that don't fit nothing DNA and DNA wise. Because if we was them people, then how come we don't have any any casinos? Where are casinos at? Where the casinos? Where's our land that we get that's set up as separate land? Our preservations and stuff like that. If this is who we is, how come we can't apply for none of that? How come we don't get any of that kind of stuff if that's our people? But you want to say, oh, it's 14,000 years old. I got something else for you. It's official. Native Americans and Siberians are cousins. After more than a century of speculation, an international group of geneticists have conclusively proven that the Aztec, Incas, and Iroquois are closely related to the peoples of Altai, the Siberian region that borders China and Mongolia. So, if you look, and I very much recommend you go and look for yourself, because that makes the knowledge sit in, and look at some of the northern tribes in Russia. Because there's tribes like Russia, all we think about is like the Kremlin and all that. Like, that's Moscow. That's just the main cities and stuff. Russia's huge. Russia's pretty big. And after you go in northern Russia, you're dealing with a lot of tribes and villages and stuff. And you'll actually find, and especially up in that northern area that they're talking about in Siberia, these jokers build teepees like they do over here. They build totem poles like they do over here. The only difference is you see how this man is dressed a little warmer because, again, they're in Siberia, so it's cold. So this dude is just dressed warmer, but he's literally dressed almost the same exact way as this guy over here, who's over here in the Midwest and the southern parts of United States, where the Native Americans come from, for the ones that walked over. So when you want to have somebody tell you that, oh, Indian, that's us, that's our people, are they really? Are these Cherokee and all these, are they really our people? Again, this woman, by the woman's own saying, from the lady that was actually kicked down, that actually got arrested for the bus incident before they faked Rosa's incident, her mom literally told her, this was her mom's own words that they quoted, go let Rosa have it. The white people like Rosa. She got better skin. Rosa, as you can see, she passed. Just like a lot of those other Indians that got all the benefits and stuff. They passing. They pass. Bruh, burn your idols. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Like, if you want to sit here and still cling to the bullcrap lie that this woman was Hebrew and she did some great thing, even though she was working for an NAACP run by a white man, married to a white man, had a daddy who was a whole white man and a mama that was a whole white woman or Anglo. Are you serious? Are you serious? This is not it. they keep trying to bring this mess on. And the reason why is because they have been miseducated. And that's one of the things that I'm going to get on again tonight. So we're going to talk about some HBCUs. We're going to go over them real quick. The historically black colleges. The interesting thing I found is the first HBCU, Cheyney University of Pennsylvania, was founded in 1837 by Quaker philanthropist Richard Humphreys. Wait. Whoa. Now, if y'all watched last week, that word Quaker should have instantly, the circus should have started sounding, because you know where these Quakers come from. Let's look at Richard Humphrey. What's Mr. Richard Humphrey? Mr. Richard Humphrey is a philanthropist. Richard Humphreys, philanthropist. He was an American silversmith and philanthropist who founded a school for African Americans in Philadelphia. Originally called the African Institute, it was renamed Institute for Colored Youth and eventually became Cheyney University of Pennsylvania, the oldest historically black university in the United States. Humphreys was a Quaker philanthropist who bequeathed $10,000, 1/10 of his estate, to establish a school for the descendants of African race. Now, before I go there, let's go over to Quakers. I asked, again, hitting up the AI, hey, did the Quakers have slaves? Yes, Quakers did own slaves, particularly in the 17th and 18th centuries, despite later becoming prominent abolitionists. Early involvement, Quakers were among the most prominent slave traders and slaveholders in early America and the Caribbean. William Penn, the founder of Pennsylvania, owned slaves during his time in the colony, and many Quaker families in Philadelphia and the West Indies were slave owners. So this man, who's from Philadelphia, the heart of Onondaga County, from a bunch of people that owned black folks, just one day just got extremely magnanimous and gave 1/10 of his estate to educate, to properly raise up the very people that they were making their money off of. The very people that they were making their money off of. If you believe that, I have a bridge in London and I have a bridge in San Francisco to sell you. I just need a down payment because my dude, Quakers owned slaves. Now it says, while Quakers later became leaders in the abolition movement, their path was long and conflicted. The first recorded protest against slavery by a religious group came from 4 Quakers in Germantown, Pennsylvania in 1688, but their petition was ignored for over 150 years. So only 4 of them, at the height of them making money from this, was like, yo, this is wrong. And they ignored them for 150 years, but then magically had a change of heart and decided to give you niggas college. They just magically had a change of heart and was like, oh, let's educate these poor Negroes. Let's just I'm gonna put 1/10 of my estate up to educate these people. I have a news flash for y'all. That ain't how that thing works. Anytime the government does something, or anytime, especially the people who got over on you started to invest in you and give you gifts, y'all never seen the movie Troy? You never heard of the Trojan horse? The Trojan horse? When you give a gift, but inside that gift is the end of you? That's literally what they did. This man didn't spend 1/10 of his estate to get you educated and highly set up, because look at where we at now. Look at where we at now. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna pull this. Oh, it keeps doing this. That's fine. I'm gonna pull up this little stat here that I was looking for. I was looking for black-owned banks. It couldn't give me a definitive number back in the day, but today, currently, there's, as of 2026, there's 24 black-owned banks. There's 24 of them, and when I asked it, hey, can you give me a figure of black-owned banks? This is a DeepSeek AI. I asked it, hey, can you give me a figure for the black-owned banks during segregation / Jim Crow? And, they didn't have enough. It says, so based on available search results, there's no single figure for the number of black-owned banks throughout the entire segregation Jim Crow era, approximately 1877 to the 1960s. The results provided 2 distinct authoritative snapshots that you cannot simply, average or conflate. So the peak founding era, 1888 to 1934, over 130 African-American owned banks were established. Now, these are just the foundings. It's not saying how long they were in there, but you had 130 black folks, actual Negroes, Negro men and Negro women that were founding banks. Now, for those who don't know, banks, there's been lots of different banks. Like, I know, just here in America, you can date yourself. If, I remember Burnett Bank, I remember, oh man, I can't remember the name of the one bank. It started with an S. That was one of the ones I first had a bank account with. But all these different, Wachovia from back in the day, like after 2008, there was a big consolidation of banks. During the first 2008, or back during the Great Depression, when that happened, that's when a lot of bank consolidation happened. And that's when a lot of our banks kind of went out because of that consolidation. So a lot of them consolidated, a lot of them went out of the way. So that's why it's hard for them to say. But in the early 1930s, they had 71 black banks at the start of the decade. And again, the Great Depression brought it down to 12 because of what was going on with the Great Depression. which, as you all know, when they do this kind of stuff, you got to understand who the target is and who they be aiming at and who they going. Because again, 171 banks by the undesirables. Oh, we can't have that. Why are these undesirables making these successful towns? Why are these undesirables making these banks? Why are these undesirables able to be so successful? The money that they have don't leave their communities. What can we do to stop them? I know. Let's integrate them. Let's bring them into the fold and let's give them whiteness to aspire to. Let's make them aspire to be sitting here next to us and give them a false sense of, hey, you belong. There's no more racism. You're one of us. We're integrated now. You're integrated. We're all together now. We're all the same. Right. That's the nonsense and the lie that they tell you. And here you have the Quaker. Let's look at the we're gonna look at Quakers a little bit. Quakers in slavery. Well, the Religious Society of Friends, Quakers. Remember, again, if you don't know, I'm not going to go over too much because we talked about a lot of this last week. So if you're not following fully, watch the video from last week and it will enlighten on a lot of this stuff because that's where we found out Quakers were originally called Friends. The Religious Society of Friends, Quakers, was the first corporate body in Britain and North America to fully condemn slavery as both ethically and religiously wrong in all circumstances. It is Quaker records that we have some of the earliest manifestations of anti-slavery sentiment dating from the 1600s. After the 1750s, Quakers actively engaged in attempting to sway public opinion in Britain and America against the slave trade and slavery in general. But at the same time, Quakers became actively involved in the economic, educational, and political well-being of the formerly enslaved. Imagine that. You made all this money off of all these people, and now you're like, oh, we're going to come in and help them out. So let me ask you this, y'all. If the Quakers were so involved, where were the Quakers when we was getting killed by the police? Where were the Quakers when Sean Bell? Where were the Quakers with Philandro Castile? Where were the Quakers when all these different young men and women were taking out Sandra Bland? Where were the Quakers? Were there any Quakers speaking up? Did you see them come up, riding up on their horses and buggies and saying, hey, this is wrong. Hey, this ain't right. And we're gonna help these people that have been just disproportionately affected by harsh rules and harsh policing. Did you see them anywhere? Did you see any Quakers come around or any friends? Were there any society of friends coming around during that time? Did any of y'all see that? I haven't. Maybe I'm just, I'm just a little country boy from Florida, so I may not know what I was talking about. But I didn't see any Quakers coming around trying to back up any Hebrew folks and going through what they was going through. But why is it that right here at the time when we was doing good, when we were turning things around after we had got free and we were starting to try to build amongst ourselves, why is it they got so actively involved in economic, educational, and political well-being? They talking like it's a kids, like we jits or something. You know what I'm saying? Like they talking to jits. Oh, we got to make sure they're okay. We got to make sure they're good. Really? Really? Where were you? Were you really? So this is they were talking about, they were Protestants, that they were, the Quakers themselves were Protestants. Let's look at the Protestant. Congregationalism in the United States consists of Protestant churches in Reformed tradition that have the congregational form of church government and trace their origins mainly to Puritan settlers of colonial New England. Now, again, if you watched last week, the Puritans are also another name that they had for the Quakers. Most Quakers were Puritans, and there's also Puritans too that were non-Quakers that were just like what we would call your traditional Christian, but they follow that Puritan rule. And I showed you how in the Puritan, actually, you know what? I'll pull that up real quick here. I had pulled up Puritans, and let me go ahead and read about the Puritans first before I pull up and get distracted. The Puritans were English Protestants in the 16th to 17th century who sought to rid the Church of England of what they considered to be Roman Catholic practices, maintaining that the Church of England had not been fully reformed and should become more Protestant. Puritanism played a significant role in English and early American history. So again, when you see the funny dress, isn't it? Do you think it's a coincidence? As a matter of fact, let me pull them up real quick and I'll show y'all. I'll pull it up and they got the new look. Here we go. Is it any kind of here, let me open the image in a new tab here so I can make it bigger. Yeah. Now, y'all see this? This man is a Quaker. Now, I know all of us have had to take our American history back in the day. You know, we've all done our thing. Doesn't this man have the George Washington haircut? Doesn't this man wearing the George Washington hat? Isn't that man wearing the Thomas Jefferson jacket? And isn't he wearing the Benjamin Franklin shemagh around his neck? You know, the little, I don't know what they call it. That's usually it's a shemagh. I don't know if that's called a shemagh. They may have a different name for it. But, you know, usually when you wear the little thing around your neck, it's a shemagh. The little cloth around his neck. Don't they all look the same? Don't they? Here, let me. For those who don't, let's go. George Washington. Oh my. Oh my. Well, what do you know? Hold on, isn't that old George himself? And I'm just saying. I mean, you're looking at George. Here's the Quaker. Here's George. Here's the Quaker. Here's George. Man, he got the same little, you know, neck shemagh doohickey there. He's got the same haircut. And, you know, they wear them little shoes, them little church shoes looking shoes that they be wearing, you know, looking like little church shoes and all that kind of stuff with the little heel on them. These were the same people that were putting your ancestors in chains. Do you think they were making money, bank off of our back? Do you think that this man is gonna spend 1/10 of his wealth? 1/10, $10,000 in that back in that day is a lot of money. It sounds like nothing now, but you got to understand this was in 1837. This is when you was getting food for like pennies. You can go with a penny and get like bread, 5 cents, and get a whole meal. Like if you had a nickel, you could feed the family. Like, come on now. You had all that going on. This man spent 1/10 for the people that for 150 years, they ignored the four people who were saying this ain't right. And they ignored them niggas for 4 years, 150 years. And now all of a sudden, he want to spend 1/10 of his wealth to educate niggas. All right, bro. All right, bro. I'm just saying they all look, that's who we were. Let's go Benjamin Franklin. Oops, I'm spelled it wrong. That's all right. Here we go again. We've got the same thing. The same thing. Bros up again, doing the same thing. These was the same people. These were the same people that were doing this. They just was under different. Y'all know how it is, just like now. They have different denominations, but they all under the same thing. This is dumb. They be trying to say Thomas Jefferson was black. They can kick rocks with that stupid stuff. Black folks be trying to claim stuff that ain't even real. And I believe those are COINTELPRO niggas that be doing that stupid stuff because that's the kind of stuff that, you know, they throw up to keep the other side, you know, the Anglos, like, oh, they're just always claiming stuff, and oh, they're just always claiming this. And then when you claim real history, they say, hey, actually, the Messiah wasn't a white dude running around looking like a hippie, like he just got finished listening to the Beatles and coming back from the beach. Like that wasn't him. And the Egyptians actually were Hebrew and were actually a Negro in color. That's why all of them kept getting mistaken, like Moses and Paul got mistaken for being Egyptians. They had to keep these lies going, and they pushed little stupid stuff out there like that, like this dumb mess here, because they want the opposition to us to say, oh, look, they're trying to claim everything. Of course they're going to try to claim that, to make their lies stick. Again, this man dressed up in the same garb. Now somebody say, oh, well, that's just the style, and oh, that's just how they did. Is it though? So again, what's the style for today? How come you don't see the Quakers still dressing like that today? If this is the style, and we know Quakers or the Friends don't follow trends, how come they're not still doing the same thing? How come today? As a matter of fact, a lot of them do, if I'm not mistaken. Let's we're gonna do this one live. We're gonna do it live. Let's do Quakers today. And that's the new kids, the new stuff. See how they here we go. Some of those, okay. They're not wearing, they're wearing clothing that's similar to the time, but they're still in their traditional old school garb. But you see some of the dudes there in the old, that's the young kids right there. You still have them in their current dress. See, the young kids today, you don't see them dressing like that, which is actually interesting. I saw this a while ago. The young kids are very different from the Quakers of the old. The young ones are mad different, but you still see the old ones, because again, here's your boy right here, Daily Quaker, with the same old nonsense. And you even seen it with even though it was a parody, but he was dressing like him. And what's the boy's name? Weird Al Yankovic, when he came out with his white and nerdy, and what was he doing? He was dressed up in the traditional Quaker outfit. Actually, let me put it up in Google and see what Google pulls up here, because Google gives you a lot better image results. No, they're probably just going to pull up most of the younger kids and the other stuff. But these jokers are the same people, bro. The Protestants and the Puritans were the same folks, these same, again, Christians getting involved. Remember, it was Christians that put us in slavery. It was the Inquisition that they tried to make it sound like, oh, well, they were going after, Jews, and they tried to make it sound like they were coming after guys like this, like the Puritans and whatnot. The Roman Catholic Church was trying to come after them. That's not the case. Because when you go in and you do history, you start finding out, oh, in Spain and Portugal, there's still that place there called Negro Street. Again, if you want to know the history, go holler at Teo Ministries. Go look at the different videos that Dante Fortson has on his channel. They got the whole history, and the matter of fact, Black History in the Bible, the Omnidex, which is the website that Dante Fortson created with all the proof. It talks about it in there as well, where you can pull down all the proofs in there. I recommend you go to these sites and go in and pull those things up and do the research for yourself, so that before you want to get in your cognitive dissonance and be like, oh, that ain't it. Oh, that ain't blah, blah, blah. Go research it. Go look and research it. I'm not going to do the research for you, because a lot of times it's better when you find out for yourself, because right now all you thinking is you just feeling some type of way. You just getting mad at the messenger. But I'm just trying to let you know, this is what it is. This is what they did. And I wanted to talk about the Roman Catholic practices. Again, the Hegelian dialectic is how they always try to propose two sides. They did it back when they were talking about, they were trying to change the shape of the world, when they were around here bringing in that retardedness of the 66,619 miles per hour around the sun nonsense. And then you have folks that were still talking about the earth being in biblical cosmology. I'm not gonna call it flat earth, because it's not flat. And then always people show you a pancake earth and like, oh, this is what you believe? Oh, we're gonna fall off the earth, and all that stupid low IQ nonsense that's just retarded. I would say biblical cosmology with the firmament. The Catholic Church actually came out in defense of that at first, against the Jesuits, who were the ones that were pushing the heliocentric model versus biblical cosmology. Now, again, the house divided can't stand. But if both of them are playing by a game with an end game in mind, we see what we're being taught in school today. So these jokers, they may come up and act like there's fights and schisms and all that stuff, but really all it is just a way to reinvent themselves and to broaden the net for their deception. Because that's what they did with the Reformation. When your boy came and knocked on the door and left his letters and all that stuff for the Reformation, that didn't do nothing but create this modern the American version of Christianity. Really, that's what it essentially did, because that's where most of them separated off. You see the Puritans, they came over here, and then they started that mess over here with this crap, with this nonsense. And you still have Hebrews running with this mindset to this day. Is it any wonder why we always, whenever they want to do anything political, where do they go? When it comes to us and they want to do something political, where did Barack Obama go when he was trying to get elected? He did hit the churches. He went to the church. He went all up in the church. I thought the church was supposed to be separation of church and state, but yet and still, do we not see the church heavily involved in the state? How many pastors do you see out here talking about all these different political things about the president and all this other stuff? How many pastors out here be practically wearing a MAGA hat in the pulpit? Be out here making declarations. Like, there was whole churches out here making declarations in 2020. Oh, Trump's going to win. Oh, I see the God is going to give Trump the presidency. And oh, God is going to bring his man of God in, and he's going to let him take over, and he's going to get rid of these liberal heathens. And they was doing all the hooping and hollering, and then boom. All that hooping and hollering. But separation of church and state. Separation of church and state. No, I'm going to tell you why. Because this is another system of control. This is another system of, before I go there, another system of control. I wanted to read another thing that I had a discussion with Mr. DeepSeek about. So I asked the DeepSeek, how did the Romans educate their slaves? Based on the search results, the Romans did not educate slaves for the slaves' benefit. Instead, they strategically educated a specific subset of slaves to serve the economic, domestic, and cultural needs of the Roman Empire. I'm going to read this again. And let me zoom it in so y'all can catch a good view, because I didn't resize my screen today. The brother was working late and was doing all kinds of stuff, so I had to hop on and didn't get a chance to fully do my setup where I usually change my screen size. Based on search results, the Romans did not educate slaves for the slaves' benefit. Instead, they strategically educated a specific subset of slaves to serve the economic, domestic, and cultural needs of the Roman elite. The evidence paints a clear picture of education as a tool of exploitation, not enlightenment. I'm going to read that again. The evidence paints a clear picture of education as a tool of exploitation, not enlightenment. Does that sound familiar? That should sound familiar to those of us that got some ears to hear. Those of us that are, with our cognitive dissonance, because our whole soul is built upon the Freemason degree that we got wearing the cap of Jupiter on our head. Oh, for those who don't know, I'm going to... Saturn. I'm sorry. Was it Saturn? It was Saturn. I'm sorry. I said Jupiter. It's Saturn. I was saying Jupiter. It's Saturn. The cube of Saturn is a symbolic and esoteric concept rooted in mythology, astrology, and conspiracy theories. That should let you know right there it's legit. When they gotta police your thinking and not just give you the information, when they gotta guide you with words. See, when you read information, let me explain something to y'all. America doesn't teach methodology and thinking. It teaches pattern recognition. So to put it simply, they'll teach 2 + 2 as just 2. So when you see 2 + 2, you just in your head know the answer is 2. You may do, they don't teach it. Now, again, I know we all know what 2 + 2 is and this and that, but I'm giving an example. This is just merely an example. So let me put that out there, because folks be like, oh, he's saying, oh, this is an example. But they don't go in and tell you why 2 + 2 is 2. This is what they do with the knowledge that they give. They give you something to say, just like I talked about earlier with my friend that was talking about how they went to law school and they didn't read the Constitution. They read interpretations. They didn't read you the Constitution and let you interpret it and gain knowledge and to interpret it yourself. They gave you an interpretation for it. When you go to seminaries, you're not taught to read the word and to logically break it down and to let the word speak for itself. You're given third-party interpretations for what it is. This is why I wrote the book on the soul. You can find it at publishing@crimsonlion.com. I'm gonna put the link in the chat towards the end. Again, for that, that's why I wrote that book, because I understood. I started to think about the soul, and I'm like, I don't think the way that the soul is described, especially by Christianity, was correct, because I was seeing a lot of overlap with the spirit and how the spirit functions, and they were conflating spirit and soul as the same thing, and it's not. It is not. To give y'all a sneak peek into the next iteration of the book that I'm going to write, you can look at the soul as the soul is the anchor for your spirit. When your soul dies, your spirit lifts off your body. This is why your body stays alive when they do the astral projection and all that kind of stuff, because your soul, the blood, is still in the body, but your spirit detaches from it, and then they send their spirit to different places. This is why even in the Bible, they talk about how when the demons, when the fallen watchers, children, the Nephilim, the Nephilim, and the Elud, when they died, their spirits didn't go into heaven. They stayed on the earth, but their soul was dead. Their soul was attached to their body. That's why you see, especially if you read like Jasher and Jubilees, when it talk about how these cities was getting judgment and how not a living soul was left there, and animals have souls as well. That's where all that comes from. It's in your blood. That's why the Most High told Noah to, like, no, you can't drink the blood because the blood has the soul in it. Again, read the book to get more details on what I'm talking about. It's a free ebook. It's free. There's no excuse not to read it. It's free. It's for the free throw. And so this is why I started to question a lot of stuff like that. So whenever they put buzzwords in, when they say conspiracy theory, that shuts off the mind of an enslaved brain. Because when you see that, well, Master told me conspiracy theories are fake, so I'm not going to believe anything I see. I'm just going to, take it with a grain of salt. Oh, these crazy people. Because your brain word association. Conspiracy theory, they show you the picture of the dude leaning against the wall with all the dots connected and all that kind of stuff. They always show the conspiracy theorists as the dude connecting the dots. Why is connecting the dots bad? Why is it that when you watch detective shows and you see, like, you'll watch ER, and in ER, I remember they had, was it ER? No, it wasn't ER. It was Law and Order. And there was this dude going around spreading AIDS in the city. And they were trying to figure out who he was and where he went. So they were tracking all the people that had caught AIDS, and they were going off of the people. Okay, who did you sleep with? Who did you sleep with? And they had a board set up making connections. How come they're not conspiracy theorists? How come they're not a conspiracy theorist? When you see a detective show and the detective is putting all the evidence and stuff together, how come that's not a conspiracy theorist? How come that's not conspiracy theory? Because they don't want you connecting the dots. See, that's what we're doing right now. That's what I'm doing. We're connecting dots. We're looking, okay, they say Rosa is this. Well, Rosa wasn't even the original person. It was another young girl who did it. Well, why did they pick Rosa? When we look at Rosa, Rosa wasn't even Hebrew. She was like 1/4 or 1/5 out of all the other mishmash of nations she had washed up inside of her. And it came from her mama. So we all know it come down from your daddy's side as a Hebrew. So it came from her mama. So she by technically and genetically, she was not Hebrew at all. At all. So of course she made the pawn for them to use because they could control her. Her whole husband was a whole white man. Even the man they got to play her. Oh man, hold on. Let me show you the cube of Saturn first. Let me show you the cube of Saturn first. So this is the Saturn cube. There's in Mecca, they walk around a giant black. As a matter of fact, do they have it on here? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And then I want this one as well because there's a bunch of them out there, and it's a lot to it. You got the black cube right here. You see the Talmudic Jews do it, the Kabbalah and Islam. They walk around. When you go to Mecca, they walk around the cube. They walk around it. You have it over here with witchcraft. You have it here in Masonic imagery. That's why you have the checkerboard, the black square. What is it that you put on your head? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Why is it that why is a graduation cap shaped this way? Why can't it just be a normal cap? Why is it shaped like this? Why is it cap shaped like that? Why is it shaped like that? Why is it that they have these cubes in New York, in Orange County, in Hamburg, in Denmark, in Arabia, and then here again? And I've seen Hebrews doing this nonsense too, which is insanity. Absolute insanity. I've seen some Hebrews doing this crap. Like, come on, bro. But you want to tell me that the education system is designed to keep us educated? It's designed to liberate us? It's designed to do all of these different things? When it's closely tied to imagery, you get a degree. You're getting a degree. A degree. And just so happened that in Freemasonry, you would go through degrees. Okay. All right. I guess I'm just being a conspiracy theorist by just, putting 2 and 2 together and making 4. See, they don't want you to think about anything in depth. They don't want you to make connections, because when you make connections, you realize that it's all worship. This is why folks go, why do you think that colleges are full of so much lust? Why do you think that colleges is where a person go and their whole mindset change? They change. You see a lot, especially amongst Anglos, you see them say that a lot. Oh, I sent my daughter to school and she came out this program. They talk about it a lot, how they programmed a lot of this liberal nonsense and a lot of this crazy nonsense in the folks there. And they've been programming black folks too. That's why you go there and all these jokers come out Democrats and all this stuff. The same people that's been keeping you locked up. Now, again, I'm not Democrat, Republican, because they both the same on the same nonsense. But the fact that black folks, Hebrews, follow Democrats, the ones who literally were the ones keeping your tail in chains. Keeping your butt in chains. If they always say that the parties switch and that there was a swap. If anything, it wasn't a switch. It was that the Democrats changed their colors. These are the same folks. I don't know if y'all went again on the knowledge seekers over at publishing@crimsonlion.com and went over to sign up for the knowledge seekers. The knowledge seekers is the free tier. Again, free. You can go in, see the posts of some of the past videos and some of the examples that I posted in there. I posted the video from the dude I'm going to show another video of today. He did a big, long thing about Abraham Lincoln when he talked about the Whigs. He talks about all these different things. Like the history, we don't even understand American history properly, let alone world history. The American history that you're fed, even recent history, has been full of so much trash and lies. But y'all want to say you educated because you can regurgitate the narrative that you are given. You're wearing part of the checkerboard on your head when you graduate with your degree from a school that you pledged your life to a Roman god, that you had to do all these weird, nasty things to initiate yourself in. Is it any wonder that most of these black folks that's in these stupid fraternities get out and then join Masons and join Eastern Stars and all that other nonsense, and it's always in the church? I don't know if I told the story before, how when I used to do Christian rap back in the day with a bunch of different dudes, and we'd go around different churches and stuff, and we would just rap or whatever. And we pulled up to this one church, and I pull up right there on their fellowship hall, big old Mason sign. This hall dedicated by Freemason, local number, blah, 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 blah. I was like, yo, I ain't going in there. They was like, nah, bro, nah, we come on, bro. Like, we could come in there and give them God. We could probably come in there. I'm like, bro, that's the principality that's running this place. They letting you know that this is the God of this church. Why are you gonna run up in there thinking you could change anything when the foundation of that place is built upon this Freemason nonsense? Like, no, y'all could go. I'm straight. I'm not doing it. I stood 10 toes. Then some of my boys called me later on, bro. It's a good thing you didn't come, man. It was crazy in there. It was real. It was a lot of little goofy stuff that they started seeing, and a lot of little crazy stuff. I'm like, I know, because they letting you know when you walk in. I mean, big old symbol right there. Freemason. What in the world is the Freemason? Why? You ever thought about why these people get into these Masonic lodges and groups in the church? Why is that? Because the Puritans, these jokers, it's all the same. It's all the same. There's a video I did early on my channel about Mithraism. And Mithraism is all this. As a matter of fact, I went to a seminary and talked about they had it was like a thesis on one of the classes, and it was talking about what they teach in the class, and they were teaching how when you get baptized, it was because the Holy Spirit put semen in the water and you going down, it's like a new birth. It was weird and sexual coded and weird, absolutely weird and crazy. But again, this is taught at a Christian seminary school because all of these are the same. They're all the same. It's all smoke and mirrors, like they separate, but all these folks is on the same thing. That's why you see so many of these pastors as Freemasons. That's why you see a lot of them out there. Even some of the ones you see on TV, they just don't publicly tell you. But a lot of these jokers are Freemason affiliated. It's like it's a big what the Most High say? That they were confederate. It's a confederacy, literally. That means they all working together. They all are coming in. They just changed the names of all this stuff. But we're still living in Rome. I heard some ignorant mess from some just ignorant Hebrews talking about, oh, well, how I thought that when the time after Rome was going to come and, it's the time of the end, the Gentiles can't get saved. Here it is. We're the time of the end. How can Gentiles get saved? And I'm like, you silly, stupid Negro who lacks understanding. A lot of folks that say that, Hebrews, that white folks, non-Hebrews can't get saved, but yet they're married to non-Hebrew women. A lot of those dudes are not smart. I'm just going to point out and say they're not intelligent. They're not. And it's not that they don't have the ability to, it's just they don't know how to humble themselves and to sit down and listen to wise teaching and learn. No, they think that because they read a little something. I'm talking about these Negroes was just saying all the wrong, they was misinterpreting scriptures. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. I couldn't bear to listen to the foolishness. My ears was just like, ugh, what is this? Nah, we're not in that. I don't know if people understand the let's again. Let's go to the statue that Daniel saw. The statue that Daniel saw. Let's find a nice size. Is this one? How big is this one? Here it is. This one's perfect. This one is perfect. Y'all often hear me say this. This is why I say the different body parts represented the different kingdoms. You got the one whole torso of this one here. You got the one there. And then Rome, you have your two legs for Rome. In Revelations, it talked about how the beast received a grievous wound, but it got up. The Christians and the friends would have you think that Nikolai Carpathia gets shot in the head, and the Antichrist shows on the scene, and then he just magically gets up and starts acting a fool after that. But what it really is Rome died back in the day. During the conquest of Rome fell down when Rome was losing power in all of its periphery. All the military might that they had was weakening and waning. So people were rebelling. You had all this different stuff. So they didn't have the same stronghold that they had. Even after Caesar died, you started seeing Rome separated to the different generals who was ruling different ones. So your boy Constantine is like, I need to bring it all back together. So Rome didn't die, just like slavery didn't go away. It got recodified. It became a church. Why do you think they call it the Roman Catholic Church? Roman Catholic. Why is not just Catholic? Why is it Roman Catholic? Why is it that we go and we deal with Roman gods when you go into your local courthouse, you got a Roman deity standing out there holding those doggone scales. When you pull up on Ellis Island, there's a Roman deity, actually a Roman eunuch, sitting up there called the Statue of Liberty, holding up the flame and all that. All this Roman stuff. The laws are written in Roman. Everything's Roman coded. Roman. But they want to tell you that Rome is over. No. Rome reinvented itself as a church. If those who understood during the time of England, this is why they put in the fake separation of church and state, because this was to appease the second group of people, because people got tired of the kings. Why did they get tired of the kings? And why did they have to say separation of church and state? And why did the so-called Puritans and folk come over here to America to seek their religious freedom, quote unquote? Because the kings used to rule with the divine right of kings. The divine right of kings is a political and religious doctrine of political legitimacy of a monarchy in post-Reformation Western Christianity, culminating in the age of absolutism. It is also known as the divine right theory of kingship. The kings at that time said that it was their right to rule because God gave them the right to rule. That's why people were getting killed for trying to translate the Bible. That is the reason why they wrote the Bible in Latin and not the common language that the people could understand, because then you could open up the Bible and say, oh, crap, there's no verse in here that says that this nigga should be the king. What is this? Actually, it says that y'all should be over us. What is this? This is how they rule, through power, through keeping you ignorant. So if they rule through keeping you ignorant, do you think that they will give you $1,000, which equates to millions of dollars in today's currency, a tenth of his estate, to educate you? Do you think that they will do that? Do you think they will educate you like that? As a matter of fact, let's go finish and see what DeepSeek had to say. I'm going to read this again. The evidence paints a clear picture of education as a tool of exploitation, not enlightenment. Knowing what we know about the divine right of kings, knowing what we know about how they didn't let people read the Bible. And when they did eventually translate the Bible, they didn't put all the books of the Bible. They redacted hundreds of books. The Bible ain't no, again, nobody thought it was weird that there were 66 books. 66? Just like there's 66,619,000 miles per hour that the earth travels around the sun. Come on, bro. Come on. Let's just use our brains for a second and stop just accepting what's been given to us and what we have been taught growing up. 66 books. And then when you tell somebody about Jasher or something, oh, that's not inspired. Who said? Who said? Some Anglo that his people wasn't even given the word for? That they don't even know the word? All they know how to do is to obfuscate truth so they can rule? Because they so ignorant they can't have you, ruling through knowledge, so they keep you ignorant so they can rule? That's who said it ain't inspired. Who determines that it's not inspired? Who? Please show me this person that has direct access to the Most High. He could be like, hey, that ain't inspired. Don't put that in there. Who? Come on, man. Get out of here. Ain't no 66. It's way more books than that. There's books talked about in the Bible. There, folks so ignorant because, again, folks don't read the Bible. What about the book of the Wars of Yahuwah? This in the Bible. So is that not inspired? I got into it. I think I've said this before. I got into it with this ignorant behind camp nigga talking about Jasher. Oh, I repent for teaching Jasher. I'm like, so is Jeremiah not inspired? Because it talks about the book of Jasher. Where is that? Where did Moses, who was written about with his psalm, when he talks about how the mercy of the Most High was so great, he waited 120 years. How did this nigga know? How did he know? It's not in the Bible that we see. It wasn't inspired. So where did he get this number from? The same number that Peter repeated later on in the New Testament. He delayed for 120 years. That's written about in Enoch, though. The book of Enoch talks about it. So is that not inspired? Is that not where Moses got the information from after he learned it from the angel of the presence? Where did this stuff come? See, again, when you don't read your Bible and you just accept what people tell you because you're so used to an education system that dictates, it doesn't teach you how to think. They don't teach you how to parse data and to come to a logical conclusion. They give you a problem and say, this is the answer. It's memorization. Memorization is not a sign of ability. Memorization is actually one of the worst learning methods when it comes to learning thinking and rational thinking. Memorization is cool if you're trying to do like a spelling bee or something like that, and you're trying to make sure you remember words. Okay, that's cool. Memorization is cool for that. It has its point. I'm not saying memorization is dumb, because I gotta be nuanced, because our minds aren't taught to be nuanced. This is why I explain things with nuance, because our brains are so taught to just go from one extreme to the other. No, one extreme to the other, one extreme to the other, one extreme to the other. There's no nuance. There's no rational thinking. And sometimes some things are both. Again, I always talk about electricity and magnetism. You can't have electricity without magnetism. You can't have magnetism without electricity. Both are true. Both are true at the same time. They don't teach nuance. We learn things in this one-sided way of thinking, because they weren't taught to be educated. You were taught to be exploited. And then it gives you a nice little grid. Here's the method. Personal tutors and pedagogues. Educated Greek slaves for freedmen were employed as private tutors, pedagogy for Roman children. Livius Andronicus is the archetypal example. Provided bilingual Greek and Latin elite education at home. Demonstrated the owner's wealth and status. So if you were taught as a slave in Rome for how to do these types of things, it was for the owner status. Were they doing that to make sure you were great and that you just were well educated? No, they were doing it as a status symbol. Look, we got great slaves. Look at our slaves. Our slaves are the best. We have the best slaves. Nobody does slaves like us. All of our slaves are educated. We have the smartest slaves, just the smartest ever. I can tell you, nobody is what they say. Our slaves are the smartest, best slaves ever. This is what they say. Grammarians and rhetoricians, slaves and freedmen. See, freedmen held prestigious positions, teaching positions. Suetonius documented these figures, though he often omitted the term servus to downplay the status dissonance. What he means is he went to downplay the fact that they were slaves, even if they were freedmen. See, what we qualify now as freedmen, but are you really free? Can you may say, oh, well, we're not slaves now. We don't have to work for nobody. I work my job to work for myself. Can you go outside and get fruit off a tree? Very few people have fruit that they have grown in their backyard. They can sustain themselves. Why is it that the government made it illegal for you to collect water? There was this Anglo dude. He got disconnected from the grid. He collected his own water. He had his own electricity. He was self-sufficient. They sent that man to jail because he wasn't connected to the grid, because he had to pay for water from the city, even though he was getting water naturally from the sky, like the Most High designed for us. Everything that we need is in this earth, but they take it and they tax it. So you can't even live your life. See, they redid the system to say, oh, you're not a slave. No, you're not slaves. You're just an employee. You're just a student working. You're not a slave. But yet, if you don't offer your services to a job, how can you pay your bills? The bills that they give you for all this nonsense. I talk about there's a lot. Like they charge, I stay in this apartment complex, they charge $95 for water. I'm just one nigga in the house. $95. $95 for water. Well, I could open up my window and put something up there to catch it. I already have filters. I can filter all that stuff and me having my own water, but that still make me pay for this. You can't go anywhere. You can now. They even made it so you can't even stay in your car. That's some of the executive orders that have been passed. You can't even live off in your car no more. They setting all these folks up in these tiny homes and all that stuff. Especially again, Hebrew women, y'all was always getting aimed. I remember, and somebody said called it out because this girl got famous overnight. It was this young Hebrew girl who started this whole thing about the car, living in the car, and van life and all that kind of stuff. This was years ago, and she got super popular. Like YouTube was pushing her like nobody's business. I'm telling you, dude, I've seen YouTube twice do that. I've seen it with her, and I've seen it when they did the first test years ago. I thought it was a glitch. I thought somebody hacked YouTube. At the time, I thought it was funny. I remember it was years ago. Years ago. I was like in my 20s. And it's early days of YouTube when they had the old design. And I remember when Chocolate Rain first came out. Those who made, no, it was what's his name? Zonde or something like that, his name is. And he had the song Chocolate Rain. No, the song's actually pretty deep. It's a dope song when you really listen to the words of what he's saying. But the whole front page of YouTube was nothing but Chocolate Rain. It was nothing but Chocolate Rain. It was weird. I remember it was one night because I used to work late. I used to work at AOL tech support, and I had late shift. And I worked late, and I came home, and I seen it, and I'm like, yo, why is the front page full of nothing but this dude? So all you had was that video. So, of course, I clicked on it and saw the video. And, of course, the video went viral. It went viral so much, they had the man on TV, because this is back before YouTube was where it is right now. TV was still a thing. So he was on Good Morning America. He ended up getting a commercial for Cherry Coke. I remember they had the Cherry Coke, Cherry Chocolate Rain. That was jamming. He was jamming on that joke. It was jamming. He was the first YouTube internet personality that got pushed into a position. And of course, it was a Hebrew dude, a young Hebrew dude with a great voice. That to me, that was a test. I always remember that day because that was weird. I'm like, I've never seen YouTube like that before. And at first I thought it was a hack, but I saw nothing talking about the hack. I didn't see nothing about it on the internet, even though as weird as it was. I'm like, I know I'm not the only one who's like, just always online like that. I know there was other folks that seen it. I couldn't find nothing, no forum, no nothing where nobody was talking about it. I think they may have made a mention of it a little later. And they called it a glitch or some kind of stupid crap or whatever. They tried to, of course, downplay it. But that was them finding out that, okay, if we push something through an algorithm, it makes it get famous. It gets popular. Because now he's one of the OG memes of YouTube. Along with like Numa and the prairie dog that turned around, all your boy Chris Crocker, leave Britney alone. Like that's OG meme material right there. And then he was put there. The same thing happened with this girl. She was getting it. I remember because she was in mine. I don't watch no van life. Nothing in my algorithm would have brought that up. I was anime, music, like it was, especially during that time. Yeah, during that time, it was no way I would have seen no junk like that from her. Video games, anime, music, what they call conspiracy theory stuff. That's the mainstay of my YouTube. Only here recently have I had a lot of news channels that I started following because I want to stay abrupt of this nonsense that's going on in the world. Our deliverance, that's what I call it. It's not nonsense. It's our deliverance being processed. And as we see that escalating very rapidly, what's going on in the world. So they control that, and they had that in there, and now all of a sudden they passing a law that says that if you live in your car, it's illegal. After they've been pushing van life for years, I'm talking about. I've seen so many Hebrew women, and there's even one female rapper I know. She basically that's what she do. She be on Instagram showing how she built her van, how she customized it herself and did all this, and she just be living out there in her van. A lot of our women bought into that. A lot of Anglos do that, but that's what they do. They've been doing that for years. That's where RVs come from, all that kind of stuff. Burning Man, they be out there doing all that kind of. That's something they did for years, but they pushed it to us in particular Hebrew women, because that's why after that you start hearing, oh, I want to get a van. Oh, I want to do van life. I've been hearing about this van life thing. Oh, that sounds interesting. I want to do the van life programming. Slaves, administrative and skilled labor. Slaves were educated as scribes, secretaries, accountants, and stewards to manage households and business, increase the slaves' monetary value, ensured efficient management of the owner's affairs. Again, you're not being educated because they want you to do better. You're being educated so you can manage their stuff. So that way you could deal with their business and make them money, to continue to make them money. Keep that in mind. Shared schooling. Homeborn slave children, vernae, were sometimes attended classes alongside the master's children. Cost-effective way to produce capable household staff from childhood. That's why they got the woman out of the home. The dude said it. Oh man, what was that guy's name? He interviewed the Rothschild's son. Oh man, I can't remember the man's name right now. His name slips my mind. Russo. I remember his last name was Russo. And he talked about how when he was being interviewed and Rothschild dude asked him, hey, why do you think that we supported women's rights and the women's rights movement? He's like, oh, it's because, it's the right thing to do. Women need to be treated equal and blah, blah, blah. Dude laughed at him and shook his head. He said, nope. He said, you're naive. He called him naive. He said, you're naive. He's like, we did it so that way the woman will be out of the house, and now the man and the woman are working. That's 2 paychecks. Now we can tax them both. Now we're getting more taxes in. He said, also, with them out of the home, now their kids are in our education system, so we can start educating them early. Why do you think that you can't turn on kids shows now without any libiquita stuff being pushed or some weird sexual nonsense being pushed on Disney? Like, I don't know if any of y'all used to watch the old Disney Plus and all the stuff like that. There was some borderline sexual stuff that was going on in them Disney shows. Why do you think all them Disney people that come out and they just all jacked up? Look at Britney Spears. She was on a Disney show. Your boy from That's So Raven. I forget the young man name. The one that they always say that's crazy, but he be talking some real facts. That be on there. That guy. Yeah, so they try to get him out like he crazy, but he be saying facts. And I believe that's another part of their COINTELPRO, because they gonna have somebody speaking facts, but he's saying it so crazy. So now when you hear somebody say those same things, you don't think, oh, he crazy like the boy from there. Oh yeah, he crazy. Orlando Brown. That's it right there. Thank you, Kurt Curley. That's the person I'm talking about right there. Orlando Brown. That's what I was talking about. Appreciate that. Like that. And Aaron Russo. Thank you, Brother Goth. I appreciate you. That's what I was talking about. Aaron Russo. Y'all can look that up yourself. The interview by Aaron Russo. Why did they hide it? I kept that up. Keep that up. I want to keep Aaron Russo up there. I don't know. Look up Aaron Russo. And there's an interview that he did. Aaron Russo interview. Look that man up. Look him up. And you'll see that what the stuff that he was talking about. His interview is fascinating. He had a whole bunch of stuff in there that was fascinating. Funny enough, not too long after he did that interview, he died. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Let me stop being a conspiracy theorist. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Life comes at you fast sometimes, Life comes at you fast. You never know. It just so happened that he was talking about a conversation that he had with this guy that was talking about all these little things that were inconvenient for the masses to know, and he got taken out. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Path to mom mission. Educated slaves are more likely to be freed and achieve prosperity, e.g., the poet Horace's father. Motivated slaves without upfront costs. The owner retained patronage ties to the successful freedman. So they try to say your life will get better. Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, yeah, you're not a slave no more. You're a freedman. But your wealth and everything that you have to live is still tied to that person, that slave owner. So that's why it says that you still keep ties. And plus, since they paid for your education, oh, you feel like, oh, they were looking out for me. They really care about me. They pay for me. Oh, now I don't know about some of y'all, but in IT, it's heavy that they'll say, oh, we pay for your continuing education. Oh, we pay for continuing education. As a matter of fact, I turned down the position because they were talking about in my first 6 months, they wanted me to get 3 different certs. They were asking me to do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm like, bro, I'm not going to do that. Y'all not going to monopolize all of my time. I have other obligations that I have to do in life, and I'm not going to spend my days in and out working and slaving away for this nonsense that y'all got going. But that's what they get you. They almost all the time. I'm telling you, as a person that's been doing IT for over 20 years now, almost every place you see, it'll have, oh, we provide reimbursement for education. You know why they provide reimbursement for education? Because when you get those Microsoft certifications, now the Microsoft certifications are trash. Most of the more recent ones, they're pretty decent, like some of the Azure ones and stuff, but you don't got to get the cert. You can just actually go online and read it. But they want you to get the cert, because when you get the cert, then that adds to the number of people that they have certified. And if you have a certain number of people certified in your business, you can get cheaper licenses. So you qualify as a higher partner. And then you still sell the licenses to the people and the equipment that you're selling to the people from Microsoft at normal MSRP. But what the business is getting it for is way less than that, especially if you're in the higher tiers. So they're not doing it to make sure you're educated. They try to put it off like that, like, oh, it's like they're doing you a favor. No, they're doing it to get themselves more money. There's a personal gain in it, but they always frame it like they're doing it to benefit you. I got a gang of dumb certifications that I had to take that I don't even use. And then most of the time when you take these certifications, they're not even relevant to what you're doing. A lot of them are sales ads just to get your mind more locked in to the environment of what they have. Because there's some stuff that Microsoft was offering that I was reading. I'm like, bro, this vendor does that better. This vendor does that better. Why would I use Microsoft? Why would I go in and try to do this? Like, this vendor does it better. This vendor does it better. Why would I do that? That's how they do. It was the same thing when I got my CCNA all them years ago. It was great because I learned basic networking and some advanced networking from it. But it was taught from a Cisco slant. And for those who don't know, the Cisco is a Cisco network certificate. That's pretty much like the de facto network certificate that you should get. Nowadays, the Network Plus is the more, the one to get. But that was like the big boy back in the day. I got mine in 2010. And I learned stuff. Man, I was learning stuff that they don't even use no more. They teaching you all these different networks that nobody uses no more. Nobody uses this type of stuff no more. And I knew that even then. I'm like, nobody does this. No, because I was working I was doing the job. But they're like, oh, well, if you want to get the position, you have to go and get the certification. All right, whatever. If y'all want me to go get the certification, I spent 2 months and about $200 some odd and got the certification. Boom. Boom. Okay, fine. But they teach you from a way that endears you to that equipment. That's why Cisco was able to last as long as they did, even though their equipment was expensive, even though they had all this, they're way more expensive than the average equipment. But because that guy that's in there got that certification, he don't want to go and learn something else. See, most IT guys, I'm putting them out there. Most IT guys don't like learning new things, which is crazy to me, because that's what you should do in IT. Well, a lot of them like just get in there, learn their thing, and then sit. And then they sit on their job and then they just stay there on that job instead of broadening your mind and going further. So a lot of them will sit there and they'll fight against new things because they don't understand it. I can't tell you how many times I've had to fight with jokers because of that mess. And these are college educated, got their certifications, all this type of junk, be feeling all type. They put they alphabet soup in their signature, but they be ignorant. They ignorant. Because they weren't educated to be thinkers. They were educated for a purpose. They were educated to make money. They were educated and boxed in their mind. The core motivation, to whose benefit? The most authoritative source on this specific question is a 2023 University of Edinburgh doctoral thesis by Madison Rolls, which is entirely dedicated to educating slaves. The thesis concludes that the education of slaves was approved by Roman masters because they were well aware of the benefits they themselves stood to gain. I'm gonna read that again. The education of slaves was approved by Roman masters because they were well aware of the benefits they themselves stood to gain. No conceptual hurdles. Elite Romans had little to no conceptual hurdles in employing educated slaves. It was economically pragmatic. Are you seeing anything about the benefit of the slaves here? Are you seeing anything about the education trying to make a thinker? Hold on. So your boy Rockefeller, the quote, "I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers," is widely attributed to John D. Rockefeller, but there's no credible evidence that he ever said it. So Snopes, again, Snopes is so trustworthy. Again, it call it a conspiracy theory. It's unproven. There's no verifiable record of Rockefeller uttering these words. Yet Rockefeller was the main one who spent a large number of money getting into the educational system. But I'm sure he did that for the sake of having a thinker. You know, he wanted a nation of thinkers. You know, he wanted people that could be smart and think for themselves. I'm quite sure that's what he was looking for. Now, I'm going to go here. Oh, I'm going to read this part. The good master narrative. Remember what I just said about the businesses that hire you, talking about we provide furthering education, like nurses, you'll go in and they'll be like, oh, yeah, we'll pay for your certification. We'll pay for this. Why would they pay for your nursing certification? Because it benefits them. Why would they pay for you to get your certification for the folks that do the instrument passing and as the operative, you know, assist? I forget what they call them. My ex was one. The operation assistants, you know, I call them instrument passers that be in the OR. They pay for it because they want you working in their place. They want to keep you make money for them. So it behooves them to pay with that little bit of money that they write off eventually at the end of the year during tax time. They get that money back coming and going. I remember I worked at a local, it wasn't a hospital, it might as well have been a hospital. It was kind of big. A place down here, it was more like, I call it a super clinic. And at the end of the year, the owner comes into the IT office and he goes, "Hey, I got to spend $150,000. Can y'all do that for me? For tax reasons, I need to spend $150,000. So we just basically got a blank check. Oh, not a blank check. We just basically got a big old budget, $150,000 to buy what we needed because he was going to write it all off. He didn't come down there because, you know, we should really update our IT equipment and we should make sure that everything's up to date and we should really make sure that, you know, we have HIPAA compliance and we're you know, doing everything right. No, he was trying to save money. He wasn't coming down there for the reason to get it. He was saving money. See, folks be so caught up in the lie. They caught up in the fake prestige that they tell you, oh, you're educated. Oh, they tell, you know, especially Hebrew women. They've been running around, we're the most educated. We're the most educated. But yet y'all do the stupidest crap. You sit here and basically sabotage your own houses, sabotage your own children. Seen some dumb behind chick wearing today where her that might have been a skit. And if it was a skit, that's even worse. Where she was wearing these they weren't even booty shorts, man. Them shorts were so short, you literally saw the undersides of her cheeks. It was gross. And her son was like, "Yo, why are you wearing that?" He's like, I can see your cheeks. He's like, you need to fix that. She's like, "Oh my God, your dad, you need to show me some grace. You need to show me some grace. Your daddy don't care. Your daddy cleared it. It's okay. I'm gonna go out with your daddy, and you just need to show me some grace." The most educated. The most educated. They be raising son husbands. The most educated. That scream independent, but then get online and cry because nobody stopped to help them change their tire, but you independent. The most educated. Come on, man. Come on, man. Romans justified this practice through a rhetorical tool identified in the Rolls thesis, the good master narrative. Owners framed education as a kindness or act of generosity when in reality it was an investment that yielded highly skilled human capital. Summary: if you were a slave in Rome, your chance of receiving an education depended entirely on your origin. Does this not sound familiar? Does this not sound familiar? Why is it that you always see rich people going to the more prestigious, the Yales and all these different, the MITs and all that kind of stuff? While everybody else go to a community, they even look down on you for going to a community college. Now, mind you, sometimes you get a better education at the community college. But they look down, oh, you went to a community college? I went to Bethune-Cookman. I went to Bethune-Cookman, and then I pledged, hey, nigga, fine nigga, hey. Running around barking, going to cookouts and having orgies and crap, and you feel like you superior to a person that actually went and learned something because of the name of the school and the name of the organization you pledged to. Okay. Greek captives were prized and your owner's economic needs. You are not being educated for your own fulfillment, but to be a more valuable instrument, whether as a teacher, secretary, or manager. I'm going to read that again. You are not being educated for your own fulfillment, but to be a more valuable instrument, whether as a teacher, secretary, or manager. Y'all, this is the AI aggregating stuff off the internet. This ain't something I typed up. This is the AI. This is deep seek. You can go and ask it the same question yourself. Go and ask it the same question yourself and see what it gives. I'll even show you the prompt. How did the Romans educate slaves? That's all I asked. And it gave me all this. I didn't even have to clarify. It gave me all the answers. And it's got 10 web pages that it used as a reference. It gives you references. Let me thumbs up that reply. Good job, Deep Sea. You did your thing. Now, I'm going to ask another one. Is this system similar to what we see today? Again, simple question. Based on the search results provided, there is no direct comparison drawn between Roman slave education and modern systems. The available documents are strictly historical analysis of antiquity. They do not contain any explicit analogies to contemporary society. However, based on the implications of the evidence presented, I can identify structural parallels that are frequently discussed by historians and sociologists, but you must distinguish these inferred parallels from what the sources actually state. So what it did is this is why a lot of people lose. This is why a lot of people are just dumb. I'm just going to say it. You're dumb. You're not ignorant, because ignorant is refusing the truth. But dumb is when the truth is placed before you, but because it don't explicitly, I don't see no story or no book from no white man or white woman that says that the Roman education system was the same as the American education system. But I got something for that. That don't wait. Does wait. There's more. I got something for that too. I got another one. That's going to be my finale. What the sources actually say, limited to antiquity. The provided search results are confined to the Roman world. Madison Roll's thesis, 2023, analyzes Roman elite attitudes towards educating slaves, focusing on status dissonance and the good master narrative. That's what we talked about before. Suetonius' documentation of slave origin grammarians is examined purely as a Roman cultural phenomenon. The economic function, scribes, accountants, tutors, is framed entirely within the context of the Roman household and latifundia system. Now, none of these documents bridge the gap. So that's what he's saying. Like, there's no explicit thing. That's what they're saying. There's nothing explicitly that says this is just like this. This is where drawing conclusions and making connections comes from, by seeing patterns and making a logical reaction. This is why they don't want you to do that. This is why they always want you to have a authoritative source. You got to have an authoritative source. So meaning that even if you find lots of evidence that's contrary to the main, if this person who wasn't dictated by the system as an expert says no, then you just have to just go with what they say because. It's like I seen on there's a Christian rapper called KB that had a thing on. They were talking about Hebrew Israelites, and he had the dude called Ambassador on there, and he was saying all this goofy stuff, and I'm like, you ain't quoting no scripture, you ain't showing no proof, you ain't showing no. Where's your evidence, bro? You're just saying stuff. Like, show me something, show me something, or point me in a direction where I can find something that backs up what you say. You just yapping. See, that's what they used to. They used to that. I got a seminary degree. I went and was given a Masonic hat and was told I have a degree by the white man. So I am educated and I am an authority to speak on this. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. These y'all Negroes out here that's clinging to these educations and making that your whole personality are no different than that story of the king's new clothes when the tailor came and fooled that king, told him he had a special set of clothes that was so good that only those who have a high high mindset and had a high understanding could see. This man walking around naked thinking that, he couldn't see it, but he wanted everybody to think that he was high class, so he running around faking it till he make it, running around naked. And then the other folks is so scared to speak up and be the one to say, nah, bro, you naked. They just going along with it. That's what we see today. That's exactly what we see today. So, feature of Roman slave education. Education as capital investment. Inferred modern parallel. Corporate tuition reimbursement. Did I not just talk about this? Upskilling programs. Modern employees are legally free. The employer does not own the person, only purchases their labor and time. That's what they tell you. That's the difference. See, that's why this says there's nothing different, because they took away the word slave. You're called an employee. You're called an employee now. But if anybody's seen all the way that the business world has been moving the last about 4 or 5 years, you should recognize your status in these businesses. How many folks was working for a business for 35, 40 years, giving all their life and time, spent time away from their kids, did all kinds of stuff for this business, and then get unceremoniously let go? How many? How many? There's tons of them. Tons of them. Stratified access, unequal K-12 funding, the school-to-prison pipeline, caste-like educational inequality. Modern barriers are structural, economic, not formal legal ownership of persons. See how they changed it. It's not a formal legalized slavery, but they just created structural and economic barriers to keep you in a slave construct. Honestly, this is the only time I'll use that word, because the word genius refers to having a spirit that gives you information. This is genius, because those fallen watchers that studied us all the way back during the time of Noah, that was learning us and studying us to control us, are passing this information down to these jokers today. This is where they get this stuff from. Make no mistake about it. They're not coming up with this on their own. They're not smart enough to create such an intricate and multi-layered trap that is this Western system. It is demonically ingenious in the way it is structured and set up to keep you at all levels locked in to where they can control you. So they don't call you a slave legally, but you still a slave. Can you go get food that got seeds in it anywhere? It's hard. You got to work hard to find it. And then when you do find it, they got it charged out the wazoo. It's in Sprouts. If I want to get milk that is free from steroids and least pasteurized, because the pasteurization process kills a lot of the good bacteria. They try to tell you, oh, the milk in the cows is bad. Well, niggas been drinking cow milk since the Western days and they survived. So, please explain. Please, how do we live this long in all these countries? They don't pasteurize it in the bush in Africa. They don't pasteurize it in the mountains in over there in the Arab lands and stuff. I don't want to call it the Middle East, because that's just that's not a thing. Over there in the Arab countries and stuff, where they have the country living, where they live out in the mountains and out in the country, and they have their animals and stuff like that, and they do animal husbandry. You don't see them dropping dead from drinking the milk. Why is it our milk got to go through all these processes? And to get the milk that's least processed, I got to spend $12. You would think that I would be able to buy that milk cheaper than the milk that's got to get processed. But the processed milk with the hormones is cheap. But the milk that's more pure is $12. But you're not a slave. Status, dissonance, and obscured origins. Devaluation of labor with servile connotations. Domestic work, care work. Romans explicitly concealed slave origins. Modern societies formally deny caste, but reproduce it economically. Bro, Deep Seat was so cooking. Let me say that again. Romans explicitly concealed slave origins. Modern societies formally deny caste, but reproduce it economically. I can tell you that the guy that we're going to see, he had another video that I watched when I found this video. I watched a piece of it. He was talking about Tucker Carlson, and I forget the name of that guy that he interviewed, that stupid dude that he interviewed, Nick Fuentes. And he showed a whole bunch of cuts of Tucker talking about, we need to bring back feudalism. At least in feudalism, the guy that was in charge, he was able to make things happen. And he had multiple occasions, we need to bring back feudalism. Feudalism wasn't that bad. I mean, it really makes you start to think and wonder, was feudalism really that bad? At the same time that the person that was elected says, if you vote for me, you'll never have to vote again. And then this dude is talking about feudalism. All All right. They're ready to stop lying about you being an employee and ready to just call you back for what you are, a slave. That's what it is. They're just going back to how it was. It was always this way, but they had to have us build up the system for the AI. So now that the AI can do most of the work and everything, and they got the AI ready to replace just about everybody, they finna just go back to how it was. Okay, we don't got to, they're taking the mask off now. Okay, we don't got to fake no more. We don't got to front. We finna put y'all back in y'all place and use the robots that you help us build to do it. Thank you very much for your patronage. You're no longer needed. Why is it that the dude that created Palantir, they asked him, hey, do you think the human race should succeed and should reproduce and go into the future? And he was like, and the dude was like, it's a simple question. Do you think humanity should prosper? And do you think it should continue? He could not answer the question. If you can't answer the question, are you really human? Because as a human, you wouldn't want humans to continue. What type of creature wouldn't want humans to continue? One that wasn't human. The good master narrative. Corporate paternalism. We are a family. H-1B visa dependency. That's another big one that they got. That's the one you seen your boy Musk talking about, that he wanted to keep, even though they was kicking out all the other immigrants. He's like, we have to keep the H-1B ones. The Indians, they come in and they do a good job. And I really felt like that we should just, we need to make sure that we have the good workers and the people that do the good work for. Yeah. Because all the Indians are doing the work for cheap for all of the technical labor. So he wanted to keep them because they are basically their vassals and slaves, essentially. Because with H-1B visa, you have to keep working at that job. Because if you leave that job, you got to find another job that'll sponsor your visa, or you got to go back home. So can you say that you're free? No, because you have to work at this job in order to stay, or else they're going to kick your tail out and everything that you earned and worked for is gone. Or that nonsense of we're a family. How many of y'all seen that nonsense at a place? They come in, we're a family. We're not a business and the co-workers, we're a family. You're here with us more than your actual family, so we're a family. But then they turn around and unceremoniously get rid of your tail for nonsense. Romans use this to justify ownership in modern firms. Modern firms use it to justify contingent labor without ownership. I'm going to say it again. Modern firms use it to justify contingent labor without ownership. Educating subordinates, managing systems. MBA-trained executives managing global supply chains with vast inequality beneath them. Romans use educated slaves to run estates. Modern corporations use credentialed managers to run globalized production. Come on, man. Come on now. It goes how it goes. I'm going to play this here video. It's about 11 minutes. And it's from this man, the one I told you about. It's called the Rageaholic. His name's Razorfist. His YouTube channel is Rageaholic. So again, it's for the folks that have the deterministic mind that can't think with nuance. I'm not saying I agree with everything that this man say. I use nuance whenever I listen to folks. There's some things that, again, I think of the scripture where the Most High talks about how the wise men in Babylon will become foolish, and how the wise men, he's made their wise men foolish. Now, this is out of most Anglos, he's very intelligent. I would say that 1,000%. Especially when it comes to like American history and political history. I think he went to school for like political science, and he reads a lot of books about political science. So he understands a lot of these different things. He's the one, again, that put me on about Abraham Lincoln and how he was really a dictator and how he was really doing things. And he wasn't trying to free slaves and whatnot. Well, really how I first found him was because he was actually defending Michael Jackson. He has a big 3-part series, 3 videos he made, long videos, 3 like 1 hour a piece videos about how Michael Jackson was railroaded by the system, and he was not wrong. I went and checked his work. He came in hardcore and defended Michael Jackson from all that PDF stuff that they was trying to put on him because it wasn't true. It just wasn't. It wasn't true. It wasn't. That was just a lie that they put out there. But if you tell a lie enough, people will believe it. That's why to this day, folks will still try to say that, and they still make jokes about that to this day. That's why they had all that stuff, because they were trying to. Mike had too much power, so they had to diminish him. Like, hold on, now you getting that little out of control. You spent the whole Super Bowl staring for 5 minutes and had everybody going nuts. Can't tell me one person today who could do that. Michael Jackson came up out of that little pit on the Super Bowl, and he just looked for like 5 minutes. If you watch the behind the scenes thing, there's a little documentary about it, and all the producers that were there were talking about it, how they was shook because they were like, Michael, can we start now? And Michael said, nope, not until I take my glasses off. That's when we start. He stood there for 5 minutes and everybody cheering. That man had people. They brought ambulance to his shows because niggas and chicks was passing out. And they was like crowd surfing, but they wasn't crowd surfing. These jokers was passed out, and they was passing them over to the paramedics so they can take them folks out. So yeah, he had a little too much influence. They had to chop him down the block. And then when he started talking about they don't really care about us, and then I seen a video of him giving an interview saying, "Hey, our history books are full of lies. They've changed." Before I play this, let me see if I can find that real quick so y'all can again. It's another white. It's a black bottle that turned white. History enter. Let me see if he talked this. I can find it. I might not find it on here. There's one in particular. You have to go look it up. It was done. It wasn't in like some big place. It was like a smaller type of venue that he was at, and he was telling you that history was made up. Here it is.
It's joy for the world. And the system, meaning the record companies, totally took advantage of it. But this is very important, what we're fighting for. Because I'm tired, I'm really, really tired of the manipulation. I'm tired of how the press is manipulating everything that's been happening in this situation. They do not tell the truth. They're lying.
Remember what I just said about how they were talking about his case?
And they manipulate our history books. The history books are not true. It's a lie. The history books are lying. You need to know that. You must know that. All the forms of popular music, from jazz to hip hop to bebop to soul, you talk about the different dances, from the cakewalk to the jitterbug to the Charleston to break dancing. All these are forms of black dancing. The minute it became the all-time best-selling albums in history in the Guinness Book of World Records, overnight, they called me a freak. They called me a homosexual. They called me a child molester. They said I tried to bleach my skin. They made everything to turn the public against me. This is all complete conspiracy. You have to know that. You know, it's time. I love you more. It's time for a change. And let's not leave this building and forget what has been said. Put it into your heart. Put it into your subconscious mind. And let's do something about it. We have to. We have to. Because it's been a long, long time coming. And a change has got to come.
So Michael was telling you even back then, this is an old interview. This is, I think even 11 years ago, this interview was a little old. That's why it looks like it was shot with a potato, because this is old. But he was talking about one of the things that, in case you didn't see, is everything that happened is because there are conspirators in the power structure. And then he had the other claim. The same people who manipulate the news also manipulate history textbooks. Now, those of us that are awakened Hebrews, we should know this, because we should see how they change the narrative to change who we are as a people. That's why it baffles my brain that you'll have people that so-called claim to be born again, woken up born again Hebrews, and still believe in education from because your soul is wrapped up in this mess. Your soul still sees its identity in this nonsense. Not too long after this man said this, and then they don't care about us. That's when that joker died. When his doctor gave him an overdose and didn't even really see no jail time. In case for those that remember, that man didn't see no jail time. That case went on like forever and ever. He ain't seen no jail time. No jail time. That let me know what time it was right then and there when he basically walked after giving that man a lethal dose. Are you serious? You ain't even gonna get him with a malpractice? Oh, okay. Okay. So that was the that was the one medicine from a black bottle turned white. Now we're gonna get the medicine from a white bottle.
This is Cicero, the newest addition to the Razor Force, an honorary lieutenant in the
Oh, hold on. YouTube being stupid.
Razor Fist Force Thought Patrol. But today's rant is not about the cutest little blue-eyed pup of Italian ancestry, but of his namesake, one of my longest abiding political and philosophical idols, famed orator, politician, and formative figure in the crucial Caesarean era of the Roman Empire, Marcus Tullius Cicero. Many make a big deal out of the more captivating and commercial platitudes of Cicero, and I confess I often do likewise. His declamatory invective against tyrants, corrupt consuls, and political robber barons who then is...
Hold on, I kind of want to read that because Cicero was kind of, I ain't gonna front. I kind of like Cicero after this one too. I like this. I have always been of the opinion that unpopularity earned by doing what is right is not unpopularity at all, but glory. Ugh, cook.
Corrupt consuls and political robber barons who then as now held the nation at ransom for politics and perfidy in equal measure. His hauntingly detailed accounts of the waning days of the Roman Republic as it exchanged unprecedented liberty for first benevolence.
I want to say this one too, because this one should ring true to y'all ears for some stuff that's going on today. Do not blame Caesar. Blame the people of Rome who have so enthusiastically acclaimed and adored him and rejoiced in their loss of freedom and danced in his path and gave him triumphal processions. Blame the people who hail him when he speaks in the forum of the new wonderful good society, which shall now be Rome. Interpreted to mean more money, more ease, more security, more living fatly at the expense of the industrious. That should sound very, very familiar.
Then iron-fisted fucking dictatorship, and finally, mass murder via mob rule.
Oh, I have to say this too. If you have sensitive ears, he's Anglo. He cusses, so you're gonna drop some bombs here. So if you have sensitive ears, just listen to it anyway, because you hear it at work, you can listen to it on the radio. Don't play crazy. We all know we in the world, but not of it. Stop tripping.
His searing censure of the enemy within as he quelled the conspiracy of Catiline in what was probably his finest political hour in life. And understandably so. It's all very sexy. It seems to strike at the heart of our haggard contemporary discourse, giving names to iniquitous movements and serving as stern warning of the perilous line betwixt Republican democracy and mob rule. Quote, when a government becomes powerful, it is destructive, extravagant, and violent. It is an usurer, which takes bread from innocent mouths and deprives honorable men of their substance for votes with which to perpetuate itself. Or the sage advice like, quote, 6 mistakes mankind keeps making century after century. Believing that personal gain is made by crushing others, worrying about things that cannot be changed or corrected, insisting that a thing is impossible because we cannot accomplish it, refusing to set aside trivial preferences, neglecting development and refinement of the mind, and finally, attempting to compel others to believe and live as we do. Ageless aphorisms that seem to echo in our collective unconscious long after the removal of Latin instruction has all but banished their author from the fucking schoolhouse. And therein lies what is, in my opinion, Cicero's most valuable and enduring contribution. His philosophy, mere extrapolations of Greek stoicism a la Plato and Socrates. Marcus Tullius Cicero, however, was not merely a lawyer of renown or a seemingly incorruptible consul of considerable popularity, but also a voracious reader, tireless writer, and unerring advocate of the value not merely of the slightly hedonistic modern American ideal of education for its own sake, but of a specific kind of education. See, Cicero made clear distinction between valuable and caustic academic instruction. Education to Cicero was less a childhood vocation than an engine for the construction of the new man, a new class of Roman citizen of which Cicero was one of the earliest and most prominent exemplars, meaning a new Roman born not of noble birth and indeed not of Rome at all, but possessed by the principles of its republic's founding, educated in the extreme, and fierce in the defense of every brick of its foundations. Quote, "The wise are instructed by reason, average minds by experience, the stupid by necessity, and the brute by instinct," Cicero claimed, going further to explain that, quote, "what society does to its children, so will its children do to society," and, quote, "the authority of those who teach is often an obstacle to those who want to learn." These quotes cut to the heart of his educational philosophy. Academic instruction informed by reason, not engineered to instill knowledge of a given vocation or trade skill, but painstakingly crafted to cultivate the ultimate individual, a fully self-sufficient citizen of Rome. Now, why am I rambling about bullshit education philosophy when discussing Rome's greatest orator and a central figure in its downfall and descent into despotism?
This quote here, "to be rather than to be to seem," like, this man is a quote factory. He was dropping bars. This right here, I love that. To be rather than to seem. Don't you see most folks that graduate seem versus to be? Isn't there that saying that those who can't teach? Why is that a modern thing now? Why is that? Let's keep listening.
Well, because one, Cicero's own accounts of this period in Roman history comprise almost the totality of our knowledge of it, and two, because much of what we now know of ancient Greece, from mythology to mathematics, we can thank Cicero for, as he took it upon himself the titanic task of translating ancient Greek texts to Latin and preserving invaluable ancient knowledge thereby. In short, Cicero served as almost the sole basis for the American education system, loose-knit and libertarian as it originally was, almost from its inception. And in retrospect, it stands to reason that he would. His works informed the writings of John Locke, Thomas Jefferson, and Adam Smith. Adams referenced Cicero by name at the Continental Congress. His conception of a three-pronged governmental system with its utmost powers implemented to cancel out the iniquities and excesses of the other two should sound a fair bit fucking familiar to each and every one of you, or it would if after the removal of Latin instruction, history class hadn't devolved into white guilt 101 sometime in the mid-20th century. To Cicero,
that's the nonsense that I was talking about right there. You know, when you start teaching real history, talking about what the Anglos did and how they did it, oh, that's white guilt. But that's history. Are you serious? This is why I say you got to be nuanced when you listen to people.
A proper education prepared a man for the enterprise of existing in his environment. It wasn't to provide him with a job, it was to prepare him to become adaptable enough to learn whatever job he later chose. And America's founding fathers evidently agreed, keeping the education system necessarily loose and unencumbered by federal regulation, and as the founders themselves later confirmed, doing so fucking intentionally. James Madison, the father of the Constitution, warning of the inclusion of the very same public welfare provision in the Bill of Rights that has been so wantonly misinterpreted to allow lumbering socialistic dinosaur dog shit from the FDR administration to linger interminably, said before a fishery bill debate in 1792, quote, "If Congress can apply money indefinitely to the general welfare and are the sole and supreme judges of the general welfare, they may take the care of religion into their hands. They may establish teachers in every state, county, and parish and pay them out of the public treasury. They may take into their own hands the education of children, establishing in like manner schools throughout the Union. They may undertake the regulation of all roads other than post roads. In short, everything from the highest object of state legislation down to the most minute object of police would be thrown under the power of Congress. For every object I have mentioned would admit the application of money and might be called, if Congress pleased, provisions for the general welfare." In essence, James Madison, the father of the Constitution, warned us all against the eventual adoption of the exact education system we suffer beneath today, one that would doubtless have incensed Cicero. Remember, motherfuckers, Cicero was obsessed by the idea of an educational curriculum that would craft the ultimate individual, a man for whom liberty, not the individual vote, was sacrosanct. Though he advocated a three-pronged system comprised of the Senate, the public, and the consul, in essence, president, he was not shy in his contempt for one of those wings, that of the voting public, arguing it was an angry mob in all but name, which is telling considering how easily he himself manipulated crowds with his soaring oratory abilities. If anyone at all knew how easily impelled and ultimately unprincipled the democratic public truly was, it would be a former lawyer turned consul with a background in goddamn lawyering. As such, Cicero himself made many derisive statements of the enterprise of pure democracy. Quote, "For out of such an ungoverned populace, one is usually chosen as a leader, someone bold and unscrupulous, who curries favor with the people by giving them other men's property. To such a man, the protection of public office is given and continually renewed. He emerges as a tyrant over the very people who raised him to power." But what of the educational system now, particularly in college, one which promises and increasingly fails to deliver gainful employment at its conclusion, which seems exclusively engineered to make tradesmen or spotlight a particular skill, even going so far as to dedicate entire majors to them and charge for such at a premium. Now, you may be surprised to learn our education system today already existed at the time of Cicero. The Ciceronian system was, in fact, a repudiation of it, and one that reshaped the course of Western society via the Renaissance and Enlightenment, and for centuries thereafter. That education system, the one we've been yoked to since the age of a fucking fetus, was reserved for slaves. Stew in that shit for a beat, and then really think about it. For who needs to be educated only in one specific craft but someone who will be forcibly dedicating his life to just that one enterprise? Why school citizens in said enterprise, if not to shackle them to it thereafter? While asking why the middle class continues to erode in 2019, while pointing to centralization, corporate cronyism, and federal overreach are all viable potential culprits deserving of extrapolation, I'd argue it's equally important to point to the simple fact that our education, both in the States and especially in Europe, exists solely to manacle us to a specific lifelong vocation, making it just as likely we're not showered in shekels the day after graduation because of some mustache-twirling corporate cockbag as the simple fact that we're not educationally conditioned for anything the fuck else. The outright removal of Latin curriculum over the course of the last century effectively excised Cicero from American classrooms, and it was all downhill from there. Modern universities celebrate and spotlight the works of Charles Bukowski and Steven fucking Spielberg, but at present Harvard offers not one class on fucking Cicero. Even modern reinterpretations of Roman history, such as HBO's otherwise excellent Rome series, recast Cicero as a foppish waif pretending at greatness, content to talk while tyrants rise, when in actuality, someone must have found the fucker threatening because they assassinated his ass and nailed his hands and head to a door in the public fucking square. I know this is a different kind of video, and if you were expecting more 80s action, video reviews, or retard jokes, well, fuck it, I don't actually apologize, because Cicero is more than one of my favorite political philosophers. He resides at the heart of our American Republic, one which teeters dangerously close to the populist precipice that made ancient Rome do a historic stage dive into the ash heap of human history. And if you wonder why we're so infantilized before flickering screens, seemingly incapable of shouldering even marginal responsibility as we tailspin into the self-same cycle that we resent the baby boomer generation for succumbing to, I must now quote the man himself. To be ignorant of what occurred before you were born is to remain always a child.
Didn't I? What did I say last week about, people just believing the fairy tales that we have? I said, you know different than putting your tooth under a pillow, then painting eggs, and then putting out cookies for the fat white man to come down your chimney and hand you some gifts. You're childish.
I'm Razor Fist. Ave Cicero.
So, again, I'm not just saying that. Some folks, I understand y'all need to have that white authoritative source that comes and bring it to you. So you have a dude who's actually educated as a political science major, and he's not using, as you can see, he's doing other things and stuff like that. He's actually an author. He writes a book. He's into like music and metal and all that kind of stuff. I actually found a couple metal bands and stuff from him before. Like I said, I don't agree with everything he says. He's definitely hardcore Christian minded, stuff with America. He's that type of guy, but he's not dumb. He's a very intelligent dude. And the reason why he's on this nonsense is because of what y'all said. He's going to take the wise ones of their nation and turn them into fools themselves, how they get brought down. Because he's also on the MAGA train and stuff like that, even though he's a little more, he's a little more critical of some of the other points of it, but he's the same one. He's like, oh, we're not going to be in a forever war, even though we see us constantly in forever wars, all that kind of stuff. But some of the same things that I would say, some of the same stuff that ChatGPT brought up, that DeepSeek brought up, some of the same things that he outlined. And again, this is the reason why this dude all the way back in Rome, the first Rome, Cicero was saying that. And then it was so bad, they assassinated him because he was going against the grain. Michael Jackson starts telling you, hey, the history books are lies. And then all of a sudden, that man ended up dead. Aaron Russo tells you the truth about what happened in history. And all of a sudden, that man ended up dead. Do we not see the patterns? Anybody that have a major platform and any kind of clout behind them that get up and speak the truth, they try to shut you up. They don't have to do that now no more because people are just so brainwashed. You can sit here and speak the truth and nobody cares. I believe it's just like the president said. He could stand in the middle of Times Square and bust a cap in 3 niggas and walk away, and people would praise him for it, and still they would bow down and throw palm leaves at his feet. That's how brainwashed the modern populace as a whole is. Not just Hebrews, but everybody brainwashed. And like I said, there's layers to this, because although he's past that layer, there's other layers that he falls under. Heck, there's probably layers that I still fall under, that I'm still working out. I can tell you there's a lot of layers that I'm still functioning and working out through. They so, my generation is what they call us Zennials, because I was born in 84, so it's like not quite a millennial, yet not quite Gen X. So I'm kind of in between the two, because I've seen technology before the internet and then after the internet, and they raised us basically to be these fiercely independent, I don't need nobody type folks. So yeah, I'm cool with just being off by myself and being, I don't need to be around nobody. I can just go as long as I got something interesting to read or something interesting to do or whatever. Hey, I could be off by myself and chill, and then it's whatever. I'm good. But that's not how it should be. That's not how it should be. We are communal. We have to come together and work together as community. Heck, if it was up to me and my devices, I wouldn't be online writing stuff right now. Man, I'm tired. I'll tell you straight up, I'm tired. I've been working and working late and trying to pass this stuff up. Again, doing my slave duties. I told a buddy of mine, I was picking cotton earlier today. I was picking cotton, and it ran late. That's why I was like a few minutes late, because I was out here picking cotton. But hey, it's just like what Jeremiah said. It's like, I got to do it. The Most High just put something in me. I don't feel right until I do what I'm called to do. That thing be like, it literally be a burden before I come and deliver what the Most High had me to deliver. Then after the rest of the week until really Monday, I'm like, oh, good, wow, burden lifted off of my body. That's the Most High. He's pulling us in places that are uncomfortable. You find that place that you're uncomfortable in, and the Most High is like, nah, don't run away from it. You got to run into it, because that's where you find your destiny, because they've raised us to be a certain type of way that's not human. We were not raised to be human. The way that we are raised in the West is not human at all. Everybody look down on Africa. Oh, they don't got nothing. No, they don't got that. They live more human than we do. Nobody's seen a real banana. Nobody can hardly see fruit trees no more. When we walk down, we used to be in Florida, you see fruit trees and stuff everywhere. Rarely see a fruit tree. A buddy of mine, I don't know where he got it from. He brought in some grapefruits one time. I was at his house, and he had brought in some grapefruits that he had got from his mama house somewhere out in the country. And I smelled the citrus smell. And I'm like, bro, I haven't smelled this smell in years. Not since they were driving around talking about they were spraying for mosquitoes, and then all of a sudden, a month later, all the orange trees were dying from citrus canker. Oh, how convenient. No fruit with seeds. No fruit with seeds. All that kind of stuff. Like, it's ridiculous. I like watermelon. I don't eat watermelon because I don't want to eat no GMO watermelon with no seeds. Are you kidding me? We don't live human no more, man. It's because we've been educated in this nonsense. We've been miseducated. That's why I like Lauryn Hill's album title, The Miseducation. We've all been miseducated. We've been taught how to be a slave. Just like you say, what if when a person do one thing, they do that one thing all their life. But yet, when you see these folks that are, rich and in these higher echelon and these higher families that are a part of the modern day upper class folks, that's what I'll tell you. They just changed their name from nobles to CEO to movie star. That they changed their names from nobles. That's classy. So they call themselves CEOs and businessmen. They don't move like that. They have multiple interests that they be things and stuff that they be doing. They tap into multiple things. We are multifaceted as a people. Hebrews are often gifted in all kinds of stuff. I mean, Hebrews are just gifted in music. They'll be gifted poets. They'll be gifted orators. They'll be gifted artists. There's gifts in all sorts of different things. Dudes that are gifted in creating things with their hands. Dude, all kinds of gifts. We multifaceted. Why must you be an accountant all your life? Why must you be a lawyer all your life? Why must you be the IT guy all your life? Why must you be the a handyman all your life? Like, why are you limited to just a one thing? Because you're not educated to think freely. You're educated to fulfill your role in society. What do they say? Oh, you have to give back to society. For what? What does society give me? Besides taxes and mistreatment. What I owe these niggas? What? Give back to society for what? So they use that false sense of community that we used to have for each other and turn it into this affinity for the state and the government. So the community that you had amongst your people is now replaced with a community to the feudalism, the system. Again, feudalism. It's feudalism. Your allegiance is not even the family. It's with the state. This is why they did. This is why they pushed integration. This is why they had Cherokees pretending to be Hebrews coming in. This is why they had Anglos running the NAACP for years until they finally put in a black one to avoid the appearances. But then later on had a white woman doing it. And then they didn't even do no research because she tried to get into, I think, Howard. And she tried to get in and she couldn't get in because she was white and she sued them and then got let in. So how in the world she went through that whole thing when Howard denied her because she was a whole Anglo person, but then she gets to be president of the NAACP and everybody be like, oh, we didn't know she was like this. Oh, we didn't know that she was white. Did you? Or did you just not do any research on her? Come on, bro. It's time we stop believing the lies. It's time we start growing up and stop believing the nonsense. Burn your idols. That means if you got them degrees, look at here. I said it last week. I say it again. Unless you need it for some, reason for business or whatever, I just take your degrees and toss them. I think I tossed mine. I don't even know if I still have mine. I think I tossed it because it's like, why? For what? What? This is a degree in this Masonic school for what? Besides, when I went to school, the information that I learned and stuff, I learned more outside of a school than I ever did inside anybody's school. I learned more doing my own research and study. Again, y'all see how I study? This was taught to me by my mom. She never went to nobody's school. I went to a tech school. She didn't went to nobody's school. My dad, he pick up stuff all the time. I'm telling you, if he was formally trained, he probably could have been a mechanical engineer because he had the mind for it. He didn't go to nobody's school for that kind of stuff. He didn't go to school for that. We got to stop allowing these folks to dictate our community, to dictate what we do, and to dictate how we think. And to do that, you have to come out of agreement. You have to break the soul tie that is in your soul that is tied to this civil rights nonsense that herded us into foolery, to this miseducational system that just educates you as a slave. Because all you're doing is just taking pride in your slavery. That's it. And again, it's all leads back to the church with the Quaker, the friends. They your friend. They come, oh, we're friends. We're going to give you 1/10 of our cash, even though we enslaved y'all. And we ignored people for 150 years that were trying to free y'all. But now we're going to spend money on education. Now it makes sense why the slave master would spend money to educate the slaves or the freedmen. Now it makes sense why all of these institutions of Christianity that were set up from Roman Catholicism, the descendants of that are using the same concepts that Rome used. The same thing. Even with religion, they do it with religion. They say, again, I said it earlier, they talk about separation of church and state, but you see them all these churches in here talking about politics all the time. Oh, we gotta vote for this person. We gotta vote for Cyrus. He's the Cyrus. He's gonna free the people. Oh, Cyrus. Oh, he's chosen by God. He's the God King, Cyrus. He's Cyrus. Look at here, man. Don't let nobody try to lord their degree over you when you having a conversation. Don't ever let nobody try to say, well, I went to school for this and I studied. As soon as they say that, you already know they are fool. Professing yourself to be wise, you became fools. You're a whole fool, especially if it's something that you research and you seen for yourself. You're a fool. That person that replied on Teo's comments, that she had to drop her educational credentials because they got to do that because that's a source of pride. Oh, I went to school for this and I got my master's in this and my MBA in this and I did a minor in this and yeah, I did it. And they be saying it's so prideful. Oh, this is what I did. You ain't nothing but a miseducated fool, a slave. Can't think for yourself. Your brain is boxed in just like the square you put on your head when you passed your Masonic ceremony and got your initial degree. Your mind is boxed in. That's why you put a box on your head, because your brain is boxed into that cube. That's what that is. So, with that, man, I'm going to end it at that. I gave you, medicine in the white bottle and the black bottle that went white. Showed you different little things. And at this point, you're going to believe what you want to believe. That's cool. I'm just presenting the facts. But I always want to tell you to always research everything for yourself. Don't just take what somebody. I don't care how much of a big authoritative figure that you are. you bring out facts. If you found facts, if they ain't talking that facts, I don't care how much of authoritative figure they say they are. I don't care. Neil deGrasse Tyson can sit here and call me an idiot for believing in biblical cosmology, and I'm just laugh at his old coon behind and say, yeah, okay, Mr. Sellout. But even Werner von Braun on his gravestone had to acknowledge the firmament. But I'll believe the lies that you say. You just got to stand 10 toes down. That's why I love those quotes that Cicero had. It's not. When they coming against you, that's not for your folly. That's your glory. When they come against you for telling the truth, don't look at that as, oh, they picking on me. That's glory, man. When the idiots is coming against you, this is why my tagline on my name, what does it say? Fools mock the wise. Fools mock the wise. That's why I put that on there. Because only the idiots and the fools of this world will mock truth. There'll be something they never even researched outside of what their professor told them or what they were fed, what narrative they were fed that they done built all their pride up on. Look at here. I irk a lot of folks that got their little educational thing because I'd be quick to tell them that don't mean nothing. Don't come in here flossing your education in front of me. Not in front of me. Because like I said, you niggas can't outthink me. You cannot. You can't outthink me. Your brain is boxed in. My mind is free. I can go places and analyze things and make connections where your brain is stuck in La La Land elementary zone. You still stacking ABC blocks, putting the square in the star hole because they told you it worked better. Oh, my I took a star shape class and they say putting the square in the star hole is actually good. And that's how you niggas sound. That's how y'all sound. That lady ignored the fact that Rosa Parks didn't do the thing. Was like, oh, her daddy wasn't white, and blah, blah, blah. If she wasn't white, then why did they prefer her over the actual woman? Why didn't they just use the actual young lady that actually did the actual event instead of setting up this fake nonsense to the Cherokee woman running around talking, I'm not getting out of my seat, and then got her husband who had a whole car just out the scene. Look at here, man. Look at here, man. I'm gonna leave it at that. I am going to leave it at that. I'm going hold on one second. I want to drop my link in here to the book for those that was curious about what I was saying about the soul and what I was talking about and everything. This is where you can go to see it. I'll leave a comment too with that in there for the book for the soul. If you want to know the true biblical narrative on what a soul is, and I provide receipts. I provide the receipts for what the Christians say it and who the Christians that say it and where their nonsense comes from. And then we analyze it from a biblical perspective. See, this is proper knowledge, not just, well, the white man at my seminary school said this, and I read this book by John Calvin and Beza and John Knox, and then it let me know what this is and what that is, and I went to hallelujah, praise the Lord 5 times seminary school, so I know a lot more. You gotta listen to me because I am the theological person. I am the theologian. Have several thousand seats. The Messiah, Yah, manifested in the flesh, his avatar in the earth, his word sent to represent him as a man that walked this earth. Did he go to the temple and the schools? Did he go anywhere? He went to regular niggas. They was fishing. They regular dudes. He gathered regular dudes and brought them in and made them the first forerunners to be the stewards of his new kingdom. The ones who would be the orators to go out and tell everybody about the new king that had descended upon earth from heaven and changed the paradigm when it comes to the law of sin and death, and made it so that we could now follow the Most High in spirit and in truth. He went to regular niggas. And yes, they were Negroes, so he went to regular niggas. And the ones who opposed him were all the so-called theologians. All of the Pharisees and Sadducees, they were theologians. They were the ones who went to the schools. They were the ones who were set up by the state of Rome. Those who don't know the history, Antipater was a descendant of Esau. He tied himself in with Caesar because, they always try to get in and get to the top. He saved Caesar during one of his campaigns. So since they were Jewish by a blood relation, which they were seeds of Esau, they were given authority over Jerusalem. This is why you had Pilate where he was. Pilate was one of his sons, as well as your boy. They were all his sons. That's why the Romans was running them, and that's why they called this name slips my brain because my mind is got 15 things on it right now. That's why he called himself King of the Jews. That's why when the educated folks, when the seminary led folks came in, they was like, oh, he called himself king. Him say him King of the Jews, but we know you real King of the Jews, so you need to go handle him downstairs. Him downstairs say he the King of the Jews, but we all know you the King of the Jews. That's the educated folks. The boule, the one is the same thing. Yeah. Judas was boule. He was the earliest form of boule was Judas. Is it any wonder that we are led by the modern boules that we just call him Martin Luther King? Martin Luther King. I'm being silly saying Martin Luther. Martin Luther King. The modern ones. The modern Judases and the modern Sadducees and Pharisees. They just said, we're going to pick some niggas that look like them that'll do anything for a buck. So they picked the most deviant ones among us, the sexually deviant and mentally deficient, so they'll follow the rules just so they can do their nastiness in peace. That's why most of these jokers is tied to these colleges and stuff. They come from freaky backgrounds. It's all freaky weirdness. Y'all, again, check out last week. We talked about how your Miss N.I. Rise was a whole madam and a whole prostitute. how the writer and author of The Color Purple had straight up libiquitous nonsense going on. The black man is bad. The black women, y'all can get together and bump uglies and worship the white man who liberated you from the evil black man. Even though during that time, a Hebrew woman at a black bank could get an account, but no woman could get an account at an Anglo bank. But you know, the black man is patriarchy. The black man patriarchy. These are the modern day Judas. Modern day Judas. It's like my man Jesse Royal say. Modern day Judas. They're my backbiters. I rock with Jesse Royal. They're my modern day Judah. They Judas. But we call them the civil rights leaders. All of the so-called leaders. All of them niggas are crooked. Farrakhan, Al Sharpton, all of them, every last one of them, crooked. Ben Crump, crooked. The two sorry heifers that ran Black Lives Matter, talking about we want to dissolve the nuclear family and push LGBT nonsense. Judas, every single one. So this so-called Black History Month. It's funny, the 1 month that's actually, you know, under the right Hebrew cosmology for the proper number of days, they want to consider it the Black month. And then still Anglos get all upset about it, even though we learn about their history every other day. But I ain't finna go there about that nonsense. That's just stupid. But yeah, you get niggas like Morgan Freeman. Oh, I'm not black, and I don't think we need I don't think that we need a Black History Month. I'm just gonna wear my little homosexual earring and be all in my little homosexual ways, just like Master Light. I'm gonna go get butt broken so I can get me another movie role, and then I'm gonna tell you niggas that you don't need slavery, that you don't need a month, and that you just need to get over slavery, even though I'm old enough to have been a slave. Yeah, the Marxists, the Marxists for Black Lives Matter. That's what I'm talking about right now. The ones who said they are Marxist trained. Now that's another thing that I could get into, talking about that mess and how they tied that junk in on us. Yeah, all these coon niggas, these niggas that they put in front of you who's all deviants. I told a sister today about how Ving Rhames, that nigga was wearing dresses. Because they was like, oh, you know, I got respect for Ving Rhames. You know, he's always a masculine man. And, you know, I said, nah, no, he wasn't. He played a whole trans person in a movie. It was dressed in drag. He played a whole drag queen. All these jokers wear dress. They say, oh, Dave Chappelle, he ain't wear no dress. That's a whole lie. Whole lie. Because Robin Hood Men in Tights is one of my favorite movies. And that nigga was in a dress. When I tell y'all we don't have no friends in that the movie stars and all that stuff, well, that's why I look at Kyrie sideways. I seen a lot of these Hebrew channels jumping all on Kyrie. Nigga, I don't trust none of them niggas. I'm sorry. No. I don't. You got to pay attention. Anytime you start seeing somebody saying some truth in you know, that's got a real big platform and stuff, pay attention. Pay attention to them. They had Kanye talking all that Hebrew stuff too, but then he started mixing in all that crazy stuff with it. Started mixing in all that stuff. That makes you easier to be a target, because then they're gonna say, "Oh, you say you a Hebrew? Oh, well, Kanye said that, and he also said that he liked Hitler. So do you like Hitler?" Now, mind you, I'm not. I don't believe that nobody's a boogeyman in history. They try to say that about Hitler. They try to say that about what's his name? Man, there's a couple of dudes that they put that on. Napoleon. They say that about Napoleon and all these different, you know, different characters and stuff. I don't believe that somebody's just like that. I do believe that there are folks like that, but usually the ones that are pointing the finger at the other folks are the ones that are like that. I mean, you know, we all seen them files that came out and all the stuff that's been going on. That's just a big distraction, by the way. That's just nonsense. All that, you know, ain't nothing gonna happen with that. That's just a smoke screen to get people from paying attention to the real thing that's going on. It's a smoke screen. It's nonsense. Like, before they drop files, those of us who already knew, who've been learning about the doggone Illuminati and the secret society since way back when, you already know what these jokers are on. Been talking about the Trilateral Commission and all these different things since the 90s, bro. Early 2000s and late 90s. Like, this ain't nothing new. It's new for the sheep. I seen a dude make a video talk about that. He's like, the people that knew the truth from back in the day. Hey, y'all, these rich people over here doing weird stuff. They being weird. They doing weird stuff with kids. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Oh, you tripping. Oh, that's just fake. Oh, then he talking about someone here today when they released them files. Oh my God, did you see all of these people that are in these files and all that they were doing? Can you believe it that the influential people were actually out here doing demonic, satanic things? Welcome to life, nigga. This has been normal for some of us. Like I'm like, for those of us that be calling us conspiracy theorists, all of us that's been on this, that's been trying to decouple from this system for years, take a bow. Take a bow. take a bow. Well deserved. You have seen through a lot of the lies. You may have, we all got somewhere, but for the majority of the part, we knew that this system wasn't it, and we ain't put our whole trust up in it. We always had that knowledge. But some of these Negroes that go to these schools, and they scratch these God symbols on their arm, and they do all this homosexual stuff to join these organizations, and then they go out there and become gatekeepers and all this stuff, blend the new taskmaster for the Anglo system of colonialism. They love it because that's how they get their power. So they want the system to come up that way. That's what they want. They can't let it change, because if it changes, then they gonna find out. Oh boy. Oh, I have nothing but what Massa gave me. Oh, now that Massa gone, what is I gonna do? Let me go save Massa so I can still have some use. Out here looking like Samuel L. Jackson holding your boy Calvin up in Django. Calvin! Shoot. It's nonsense, bro. But yeah, man, that's what I wanted to just get on tonight. I had to kind of round the corners on that, especially to get on this educational system. And then I had to bring some medicine in the white bottle and the black bottle that turned white. It changed colors in the sun. So, I had to turn it a little bit so it was white. So that way, the minds that are boxed in can understand it. But I appreciate y'all coming through. And I'll see y'all again next week. Y'all be blessed.
My prayer closet is full of dead bones and skeletons, ill wills, broken promises. Hatred is my medicine, my flesh, dirty voices in my head, talking 730, foul visions, keep my conscience prison. I'm the adversary, man, it ain't all good. Push me too far, cause it's your hood. Crack like ball bats, smacking balls all wood. But I'm a worshiper, I spit the truth to murderers. I focus on eternal love, yet I fit the bloody glove, the broken arrow, trying to walk a path, crazy narrow, trying to see the Christ. All I see right now, hazy shadows, plus my kicks, muddy from the detours of my flesh, man. Thought I was the best, man. Kid, I'm just a freshman. Stay locked on this narrow path. Ain't no bus stop, street cops, weed spots, vendors selling freeze pots. It's the path of the fire, the walk of the flame, the walk in the vein. My cleave marks in victory lane. Come on. This is the road that we walk. This is the flame that we spark. This is my shot in the dark. This is narrow. This is the foreigner's land. This is the covenant plan. This is the blood on my hand. This is narrow. This is my final cry. Your world is alive. This is the live it or die. This is narrow. This is the path of the scar. This is the pull in your car. This is the graph of the raw. This is narrow. Kid, I'm walking, checking cracks for eternal destiny. This armorer got sweat at me. Stormy weather be wetting me. My map is spiritual. My diet, prophet, prayer, and hymnals. I talk to God continual without hearing the decibel. I'm lost, kid. Can't poly now with the rest of you. God, I'm stressing you, cause I'm a leader. I'm impressionable. And every step I take, streets is watching for the self-destruction, game reduction. Every life I'm touching, so much teeth for sucking like I care. I was in the grabbing hand, lapping beer. Christ called me here, so I serve him like a concierge with all the strength in my frame.